Hello, 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 hello. If you could see us, if you could hear us, please do let us know, because that makes our lives a lot easier, because I never trust this thing, because I've talked about it before, and I'll talk about it every single time, that every single time I think I'm going to trust it is the day it's going to break. So there's that.
I'm much more pleased that both of us are on the screen at the same time. How long has it been? It feels like it's been 9 years. What a year so far. We're already in what? We're all the way down into January, February, March, April. And we're almost all the way through April. And we must have done like a stream. That's what it feels like, because my dad rudely just went and died. I mean, rude. And then I had to go and do things because he died, like, you know, memorials and things. And then, because we already had it all planned up, I had a holiday, which I'll admit was absolutely awesome, where I toured around Norway. And one more time, I'm just going to say thank you very much to those that I met. Is that upside down? Yes, it is. Yes. To those that I met as I was making my way around, actual genuine Lorebeards fans who walked up to me and brought whiskey to me just to say thanks for doing streams. If you didn't know that, they came all the way over to GothCon just to say hi, to pass this over to us, sort of. But you don't like whiskey, so hey, look what I have. So. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. And they passed this over. I met another on the train who just went, Andy Law, you're on the train. I was like, yes, I'm on the train. Andy Law. And we ended up speaking for about must have been about 3 hours of a 7-hour journey. We were just
probably the most pleased person in the world.
It was great. We had an absolute joy. So that was Oyvind that I met on the train with his family. So cut a long story short, it was a Lorebeards holiday, but most of my tech didn't work, so I couldn't dial in all the time. But hey, we got there in the end. Yeah, it was nice to be on screen together.
We got to do the whole stream thing with Colin, which was a good time.
Yeah, it was.
Things happened. Things got done. That's the important bit.
So, we're back, and we're back with, I think, an easy one for us to gently ease ourselves into the joys of chatting about Warhammer lore. And that is
that gentle, but sure.
So, brace yourselves for our gentle review of all the lore inside the breaching of the Great Bastion. So hopefully you don't have bastions that need breached and you're just interested in the Great Bastion we're going to be discussing today. We so far have gone through the beginning of the book and then dived into the timeline that book offered. And we have so far also been pretty scathing of some aspects of it. Other parts we really liked. Other parts we were a bit, that doesn't quite make sense. We're about to dive into the next sections after that, and we'll just see where it goes. We'll be here as long as it takes, because we do not want to make a part 3 of this book, because
no, we don't.
Holy crap, no. We know we're somewhat long-winded. Hell, I've managed to speak now for approximately 3 minutes without allowing Ryan to say a thing. So I shall now pass by and say, go!
It's okay. I just cheat by inserting myself when needed. Yeah, agree to all that. And so we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go ahead and just jump into super chats, and we're just going to get going.
I'm just going to bring up that. Nice. I am back to my normal self. Yeah, I have eyebrows, and yeah. Well, there was for those of you who caught the Q&A, that had a filter stuck on my screen all the way through, because presumably one of my kids had set it up when I was away touring around Scandinavia, and I came back, and I'm lucky I didn't look like a cat.
I love the implication though that you like went and de-aged on a wonderful Scandinavian trip and came back to Scotland just immediately re-aged.
oh no, Brexit is killing me.
Honestly, I feel like it would do the same to me. I would leave and gloriously de-age and come back to Texas.
I just want to be back in the Schengen area. It's just not fun. Where you can just go from border to border to border without even having to get your passport checked. Man.
Must be nice.
It must be nice.
Okay, so
let's dive in.
Yeah, let's get going. Battlefield, we did it! Reunited, and it feels so Fishman. It does feel Fishman. It's true. It's been 84 years.
That's what it feels like.
It does.
In fact, that's how old I feel, so I'll take it.
Arcane Delters can't stay long because sleep and watching the R. Ulrich stream, I can't help but feel that non-Midland / Imperial Ulrich priests don't follow the celibacy oath that closely.
So we didn't have an R. Ulrich stream, let's be very clear. I spoke around R. Ulrich with all the stuff that's not in the books. rather than in the books. This Sunday, we'll be covering R. Ulrich properly. So we'll do the normal, Lorebeards thing. Hey, here's the intro. Let's dive into specifics. This is the current R. Ulrich and what he's done, that sort of stuff. I talked all around that without dealing with any specifics. So this Sunday, be there.
Yep, and I will note that they are human, and man, humans are really bad at oaths. Especially when something tantalizing is right in front of them.
The urge to mention one large religion is strong, but I will avoid it.
Good for you.
Thank you.
John Schultz, who prayed to the fisherman that we get both Sotek and Andy? Who do you think broke the wall first? If you're talking about the Great Bastion, I would honestly find it.
Yao Ying.
Yeah, I would guess that one of the one of the kids definitely opened it before anyone else broke it.
Yao Ying let it happen, so Miao Ying, I'm going to lay the blame at her feet because of a tactical choice on her part.
Oh, I just have to say, hi, Andy. Let us see you back from the train.
Hey! I almost certainly pronounced your name completely wrong. Apologies. I gave it a go.
I like how he said you pronounced it great.
You're great in the last stream. I'm taking that as a huge and unexpected win.
There you go. Jonathan K, greetings from the side of Tsar Boris. Sadly, the Great Bastion has been breached by chaos, but Kislev will avenge its allies.
I mean, will it?
I mean, hopefully it will. I mean, they'll try their best. Okay, so we're gonna get going because we have quite a bit of book to get through. Luckily, it's less dense than the timeline stuff, so we're not gonna waste any time. We're gonna go ahead. For anyone that is following along, we are going to be resuming on page 11. We might have gotten slightly past this, but I figured it was a good place to start because I remembered we were in this geography area. So once again, for anyone that is new to this, we are basically breaking down the newish. It was new at the time we were recording the first part.
6 years ago.
The Preaching of the Great Bastion, which is the most recent arcane journal for the old world. We're just gonna get into it. So the Land of the Dragons, basically this area focuses on the geography and kind of the various culture and political shenanigans that go along with the geography of Great Cathay. And here we get some notes about how you have Imperial Cathay, which Imperial Cathay is the political heart. So kind of that northern region around Weijin, extending kind of in every direction for a little bit before it peters off into the other regions. And this is basically just a really straightforward, this is the core. It's very populous. There's forests. Hooray. Neat. Great. Moving on. Then we start getting to some slightly more interesting stuff with the Imperial City of Weijin, the greatest city in the Eastern world, which I'm sure none of the other cultures that might exist would over in Ind or Nippon or Koresh would be like, oi! but in any event, we'll let that stand for what it is. Weijin extends for miles all around directions, confluence point in the Dragon River, so the furthest navigable inland point of the river, which makes sense. Now, what we didn't have before, which was actually really interesting, is that Weijin is broadly divided into two halves: the City of the Sun and the City of the Moon. One which is domain of the Emperor, and one is the domain of the Empress. That is new information. We did not know that from any of the older stuff. It's probably not a hugely significant thing, but if we ever get a roleplay supplement on Weijin, which I really, really hope we do, hopefully there will be some very interesting, unique traditions or things that are allowed to be constructed zoning wise, or certain things are allowed to be observed on one side versus the other, which could create some kind of interesting ideas. I almost wonder, if you think about how humans tend to be with cities, I wonder if there's a little bit of cultural friction between people that live on the other sides, which there should be, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when have you ever got two groups of people and the group of people on one side hasn't gently either joked about or sort of hated the other side. Pretty much everywhere I've lived in my life, there has been that other city that's over there, wherever you are. For example, when I lived at Thurso, right at the very top of the country in Scotland, the next major town along, Wick, was Dirty Wickers, because fuck those guys. Now I'm down in Edinburgh, and everyone's like, screw Glasgow, because Glasgow is... add your own invective. Where the Glaswegians are like, Edinburgh would be great if Glaswegians lived in it. And pretty much no matter where you go, you've always got that rivalry, particularly with humans. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what's going to be the case. Wherever you are, I imagine you've got your own equivalent. Drop it down in the comments and say, yeah, fuck those guys over in choose your city or region of choice.
Yeah, I can actually already think of several. So we're not going to worry too much about Wei Jin. Me and Andy have done an entire stream on Wei Jin.
We have.
Which this information actually holds up with, because the important sites that are mentioned in here we've already talked about, which is great. So moving on, we get to the Steps of Heaven. So this is a really cute little fun bit. So the Steps of Heaven are basically just, it's almost kind of an homage to one of the wonders in our own world, which is a region where the rocks, the way they developed almost makes it feel like you're among the floating rocks in the sky, because the way that it interacts with like fog and how it's designed and everything. And this is basically just the fantasy version of that. Like there's just a very heavily magical series of areas where there's floating rocks, and it's really cool. Which great. Cool.
And just as a small aside, for those of you who might be listening to this on the podcast, it's rather amusing watching the comments coming in say, yup, screw that place. There's got a whole bunch of them already arriving in the comments. It's rather amusing. Let's move on swiftly.
Yep. We then have the Dragon River. Once again, going to basically skip over that because we've talked about the Dragon River before. When we talked about Shiyama when she was revealed a little while back. Then we get to... okay, this one's actually been interesting. So we get to the Mountain of Kunlan. So we have spoken about Kunlan in the past.
We have.
But this basically just mentions so that home to innumerable shrines to the dragons of Grand Cathay, Kunlan, which means the Pillar of Heaven, is the birthplace of the Empire. And legend has it that atop the highest peak, the Emperor and Empress were wed.
Yeah, so I found this an interesting description because of the word shrines.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too. Of that, this one of the things that we've really, really hammered on, and that the lore is really hammered on, is that the dragons are super anti-religion, extremely anti-religion. They don't like gods. They highly encourage their people not to worship them in any form, and they also highly encourage the people not to worship the dragons.
Mm-hmm. Yet here we have shrines, and shrines are synonymous with worship. So either A, they used the wrong word, and I'm going to assume that's not the case because it's in the bloody book, which means we are on B. This anti-religious initial starting point that we were given for Cathay is being eroded the more we look at Cathay. And I think the more that Cathay is examined as we go through further books, and eventually one presumes roleplay books, you're going to find this dragons are deeply against religion thing stands in counterpoint to people and the reality on the ground. And it's something that for Cathay as a whole, we've already sort of seen, in that the books often present Cathay as being this ideal. And the more that you look at reality on the ground, you realize that the ideal is fractured, broken, and warhammery. The army lists have been pretty poor at showing this, but not completely devoid of it. But I think we're going to see more and more of this develop as we move through the different publications.
Yeah, one of the things that's really interesting, me and Andy have spoken about this a lot in the past, is that it often feels like the arcane journals for Cathay are written by like two different authors.
Yeah,
where there will be one section that really like butters up Cathay as like this perfect place with no problems whatsoever. And then you get to another section where the author talks a lot more reasonably about Cathay. And you're going to see that a lot with... Good Lord.
Sorry for those listening to the podcast. We're just laughing at the comments.
Yeah. That made me completely lose my train of thought for a second. What I was going to say is that, but in the geography section of this book, you're going to see a lot more cracks start to show up for Cathay, which is great. I love the cracks. They're awesome. I also think that the Mountain of Kunlan being a place that actively works against what the dragons wish is really fun in two ways. In that, A, it's literally like the birthplace of the Celestial Dragon Emperor. It's where he supposedly wed his wife. It's where he went to cast the great ritual that awoke all the Terracotta Sentinels. Like, it is clearly the most sacred place in all of Cathay, but it's also very centralized in Cathay and is very far from any of the direct zones of control of any of the dragons themselves. So the idea that it's sort of developed its own religious culture of worship around the dragons in spite of them, and it's their most sacred place where you would think they would want this the least, but they don't go there very often unless there's something really significant that needs to happen. I like that a lot. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I also like it, and I hope that it becomes something that is examined both for the shrine breaking the dragons will likely follow with, and the idea of administrators arriving from perhaps one of the major cities and seeing what has come of their effectively great plan locally, where the great plan is memorials. There's nothing wrong with memorializing the dragons, not shrines and enshrining the dragons, because that brings divinity, a completely different thing. It brings worship, and it is a natural component of how many societies and communities work within all of the other human populations of the Warhammer world. So seeing this, I think, is great. I actually hope that it was a mistake and not intended, because further writers will use that mistake and hopefully turn it into something fun.
Yeah, because it makes sense. I mean, this is, from a human perspective, this is literally a mountain of miracles. It is where miracles are born. Next, we get just two cities, which is really cool because it's the first we're getting to hear about them kind of in any depth whatsoever. So we've got the city of Mingzhou, which is a major city on the Emperor's Road to Xingpo and a major center of trade between Shenyang and Weijin, which Shenyang is the western city that's kind of like the final destination point for the Ivory Road and the Silk Road, while Weijin is the capital. Mingzhou is seen as the second city of the empire, rivaling Weijin in size and wealth. Cool. That just adds some development. Great.
That's a thing.
Yeah, so it's like your Nuln in almost, or your Averheim in a sense, compared to like Altdorf.
More Nuln than Averheim. Averheim's relatively small by comparison.
The city of Xingpo, which they mentioned, is earlier. Located on the slopes of the Celestial Mountains in central Cathay, Xingpo is a famed seat of learning and home to the Astromancer's court. It is overlooked by the Grand Observatory of Xingpo, a marvel of the Eastern world. So we have our seat of the Astromancer's court. Great. Very good. Good
That's
place
good
to know.
Little else to say other than, more of that, please. Nice, simple, clean, to the point. Love it.
Yep. And then last but certainly not least, the Forests of the Moon. Populated by many mythical and mysterious creatures that cannot be found anywhere else in the world, the endless forests that surround Kunlan are regarded as the sacred hunting ground of the dragons. It is a great crime to venture into the Forests of the Moon without the express permission of the Emperor or his children.
Sure, that's the thing.
Yeah, I do like the idea that there is a sacred forest that people are not allowed into, because that suggests there's something else going on there. Especially with it being the Forest of the Moon, so correlating to Mom, the Moon Empress. I will say this is a leap, right? This is not what the book says. I'm just taking a leap here that I find interesting. But one of the things that could theoretically be a cool thing about this forest would be the idea of the idea that it has creatures that are completely unique to it. Is what if the Moon Empress brought creatures with her?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. If I was writing this section, there would be a strong desire, which I might suppress, but there would be a very strong desire to go, let's examine things that might have come from Mansleep, because that's kind of fucking awesome. And it would also give a very clean reason for why they're unique, and possibly they require a unique environment to survive as well. So there's a reason beyond just simply, we don't want humans to go in there, for a ban. And that ban is because it's potentially dangerous in more ways than just the inhabitants to get in there, because it's a different environment, and that's kind of super cool. I like it. I would be strongly tempted to dive into that angle because it seems to make sense.
Yep. All right, we're gonna go ahead and kick on. We'll do the next section, and then we'll get caught up on super chats after that.
It's good.
Northern Cathay, the first section doesn't have anything super crazy other than just saying that people of North Cathay contribute more to the armies because they live so close to the Great Bastion. Which
yep.
We then get to essentially the myth of the Great Bastion. where they give the whole full myth of that each brick was under the scrutiny and instruction of the Storm Dragon, shaped by the Jade Dragon, tempered by the Fire Dragon, and blessed by the Iron Dragon. Interestingly, poor Yin Yin did not get to contribute to the Great Bastion, apparently.
I was genuinely unimpressed with that. I sat there and went, bullshit, but hey, let's just move on. The next bit's the bit that really amuses me.
Yeah, there's nothing super new there. So we have the Eastern Steppe.
Oh, no. The next bit on that paragraph is the bit that super amuses me.
Let's see.
For each mile
of the walls, hundreds of miles of length, more than 1,000 soldiers stand in permanent readiness. For a mile?
This is where things get a bit interesting when you get to just demographics. So demographics are a thing. This is basically how do people gather in certain areas and how many people are there and what are they comprised of. And we have here, relatively simply, say a 900-mile wall. So how many people is that? 900,000. We're probably looking at a stationed force of over 1 million warriors. Wait a minute, what? Warhammer numbers for that? Over 1 million. Seriously, that's how many there are stationed. That's not the reinforcements.
That's a pretty serious it's pretty serious fortification there.
I recommend you go look into real world armies, both modern and historical. Find one that size. Now, Warhammer is always bigger. But the second you get past a certain number of troops, they become almost impossible to feed because you can't get enough food in. You just can't. It gets hard because you've got to remember, it's not 1 million people because those 1 million people need other people to survive. It's not just soldiers there. They've got all of their attendant servants. They've got all the attendant trainees. You've got all the other attendants. That means that the wall easily has a population of what, 2 to 5 million at least? Now we're looking at it and going, well, this is now getting bigger than modern cities, which are massively overinflated. Cool. This is cool. This is a fun, written in black and white fact from modern times, so not a myth. This isn't one of those weird ones that are sitting at the edge and you go, meh. Okay, this isn't really propaganda. This is what they have. This is the equivalent of a book saying Aldorf has a population of 5-10 million people. And you go, well, that makes no sense. And you're like, yeah, well, it's Warhammer. It's fine. This is somewhat similar. It's one of those crazy numbers. Yeah. Okay, that makes you go, this sounds like bullshit. Now, we could say it's just bullshit. But that's generally not what we do here. We try to look at what's given. And if we can make sense of it, we do. And can we make sense of this? Yes. They have so much magic that they can do things. They have got enough trade and open roads and logistics in place to fuel this. They can do it. What makes it difficult is if this is the case, then all of the Warhammer World armies have to be bigger. Just have to be a lot bigger. Because if they're not, then Cathay kills everyone. That's it. Yeah, they don't need to hold off chaos. They don't.
I was going to say, the implication here being like, oh, 900,000, you're like, oh my God, that's insane. But then the idea of like chaos is constantly threatening this wall. Hobgoblins are constantly threatening this wall.
Yeah. Okay, so loosely speaking, all of the Warhammer World armies have to be bigger. This is something that was much debated in Warhammer Fantasy roleplay writing when we were discussing the Empire, because the Empire is much bigger than the real world Holy Roman Empire. And its major cities are the equivalents of Rome and Constantinople from the past. They're places that have a population of about 1 million or something. The major cities, Altdorf, Marienburg, and the like, where all of the other satellite cities are much smaller until they eventually get down to the cities that you would expect in a place from the Holy Roman Empire. But it's the equivalent of all of Europe in one small space. What's its population? And there was a lot of debate about it because some of the army books were really clear. 40,000 people have marched out of Ostland, from Ostland. Where the fuck did they all come from? Okay, this is a question that we have to answer because all of the rest here. So then the roleplay book would come along with a different writer and say, it's got a population of 123 here and 104 there and 7 there. And the biggest town, Griswold, has a population of 2,000. But the Griswold army's marked in White Dwarf as being 8,000 strong. Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, you get that. I think that's where you really, I think, is one of the biggest times you see the clash between the people that are like, well, Warhammer is medieval historically inspired, and then you have the guys on this side, they're like, no, it's an epic fantasy, shut up.
Yeah, and the truth is, it lies somewhere in between. It is an epic fantasy, but it has this medieval, dirty underpinning for how much of it works, and that's a brilliant combination. The problem is many of the writers, particularly in the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay side, forget that it's a fucking huge, awesome fantasy, and they write like it's written all the way back, and they have the same population distributions as the real world. Doesn't make sense, because real world populations were out in the countryside. If you live out in the countryside in large parts of the Warhammer world, you're dead. So that clearly can't be the case. This is a clean example of the studio, or in this particular case, the Old World studio, showing their numbers, and their working says that on the front line wall there's about 1 million people, approximately. It's probably much bigger when you actually measure the whole wall. I've not bothered doing it yet. I'll do it later. But it's big. And that means that they have to have logistics all over the place, and the cities are bigger. We now have a strong idea that our Cathayan cities are probably numbering at about 5 million for the big ones, going down to 4, 2s, and 1s, and then drifting out into far smaller around that. We got clean numbers, and then we have to a degree, reflect that back to the old world. The numbers are confirmed for the modern Warhammer world as big. Now, if you don't like that, that's okay, because your hammer can be whatever you want. But Games Workshop's Warhammer has big cities, big armies, and big walls.
Yep. All right. Plowing onwards, we have the Eastern Steppe getting a focus for the first time in a little while. Quite some while. The region beyond the Great Bastion is desolate and dangerous, populated by barbarous tribes and vicious hobgoblins. Though Grand Cathay does maintain some outposts, they are little more than armed camps, easily dismantled when the army moves on as it patrols the steppe or takes the fight to Cathay's enemies. I like that they admit that Cathay isn't like powerful enough to keep permanent settlements. They just pick up and move as they need to go. That's great.
And also, to a small degree, supports what happens in Total War when, as Cathay, you go out there, march out, stab it to recap, then it gets his ass handed to it. Yeah, it's just like Total War. That actually made me laugh because it reminded me of playing the game.
Then we start getting into some fun stuff.
This is where it gets much better.
This is where we immediately start seeing the book up to this point has done a lot of like, Cathay is perfect. There's no problems in Cathay. Cathay is perfect. Everyone loves working for the dragons. And this is where our mysterious second author comes in and says, nah, fuck that. So this
did we say we were going to take super chats after that page?
Yes, but we haven't finished the page yet.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
The city of Nangao. The largest city in the northern province, Nangao anchors the western end of the Great Bastion, known as the City of Smoke. It is home to countless forges and artificial workshops. Here, the craftsmen and inventors of Great Cathay fashion war machines, the Great Bastion army of the Empire. Its wealth and power affords it a degree of autonomy from Wei Jin, and the lords of Nangao are de facto rulers of the north, even though they are ostensibly they chafe against the leash. Humans get a human, which is good. That's what they should be doing.
And it also lends further credence to the fact that their standing army will have to be huge, because if it's not, they'd be crushed. Just crushed, because we already have a very, very clear idea of how many numbers there are sitting right beside them along that Great Bastion. It's huge. And that standing army is not used most of the time. Great incursions from Chaos are few and far between. We have a massive army which they're going to be using, deploying, shifting, doing things with. And this army can stand against it.
Yeah, Nangao is one of the places I am desperate to see expanded more on, because the tidbits we have in Total War make it sound like a fucking fascinating place. For those that don't know, Nangao is literally 9 huge concentric rings, with each ring marked by a giant wall, almost kind of like Attack on Titan, if you're familiar with that show, though not as tall. But each ring has people living in it. Like there's whole communities living in between all 9 of the rings as you go further inwards. That is going to be a fucking huge place. Like Nangao must be obscenely massive.
Yeah, I love it. Great.
Which is very, very cool. All right, we're going to get caught up on Super Chats real quick, and then we're going to finish. Actually, let's finish the Northern Cathay part, then we'll do Super Chats, because the rest of these are pretty simple.
Yeah, that seems fair. The rest are really easy.
Learning more about Northern Cathay, we get our first ever mention, because although it exists in Total War, we don't know anything about it. The city of Po Mei, gateway to the Imperial Provinces and second city to Nangao. Po Mei has its own rival artificial guilds. In the past, it has been raised during the worst chaos invasions and still bears the scars of war. That's cool. I like that. I like cities that potentially might have some taint or some various trauma that bothers them to this day. And also the fact that we have rival artificial guilds is nice.
Yep, agreed. It's fine. Love that. I'm busy looking at other maps at the moment so I can try and figure out how long the Great Bastion is.
The Terracotta Road, lined with Terracotta Sentinels. The Terracotta Road runs behind the Great Bastion. It's the only road that links Ningao with Weijin. And though the journey... Oh, here's your answer, Andy. This is the only road that links Ningao with Weijin, so it's going to run the full Great Bastion.
Yep, thank you.
The journey is one of hundreds of miles.
Hundreds isn't good enough. I want to know how many hundred.
It's over 100.
I'll have to bloody measure it, aren't I? God damn it.
It is one of the most traveled and well-protected roads in all of Grand Cathay. Makes sense. It's literally right behind the bastion. The city of Wengchang. Standing at the source of the Jade River, high in the Celestial Mountains, Wengchang is home to the Temple of Jade-Blooded Sorcerers, the greatest practitioners of the elemental wind of life in all of Grand Cathay.
Jade-Blooded Sorcerers.
Yeah, this one, I remember this being very funny of that. There was a huge argument when the first Total War maps first got released because everyone saw Jade-Blooded Sorcerers. It was like, oh, Jade-Blooded Vampires! And it's like, okay, these might be different things. Also, what's interesting, and this is something we'll talk about a little bit later, is that they're Jade-Blooded Sorcerers because they wield life, associating Jade or green with Gairan, but the color that represents the elemental wind of life will be different when we get to the elemental winds page in just a minute. Which is interesting because it implies that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is in kind of a like, what are they doing here, fake?
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's that. I like that it's at the source of the most major river in all of Grand Cathay. That makes sense for the Wind of Life, that it would be located at a great water source. Cool, awesome, good. Gunpowder Road. The road to Nangao is known as the Gunpowder Road, takes trade from Shenyang while delivering weapons and soldiers to the western frontier. Its mile markers are cannons, and it is regularly used by soldiers. That's stupid and hilarious in equal measure.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. When I read that, I was like, what a fucking waste of cannons. I'm not in the middle of nowhere doing fuck all. But in some respects, you could also use that as a fine example of the surplus that Cathay creates. That they are, and the entire realm of Cathay is so massively overworking that they can do this and not suffer. And that, to a degree, is almost daft. But I kind of love it.
Yeah, and that would be a very impressive display to witness of a city that has enough industry that it uses some kind of war machine that, like, presumably someone would try and steal or something, but they use it as mile markers. Like, if I was an ambassador, I'd be like, damn, all right. And you can imagine, honestly, a really funny story coming out of this, like a little blurb in an army book where some Imperial ambassador tries to take it back to the Empire and say, let's line the road to Nuln to Altdorf with a cannon every 100 miles, and it just gets like stolen by bandits or some other stupid nonsense happens. I can see that actually being a very funny story.
Mm-hmm.
The city of Nanli. Situated on the Gunpowder Road between Shenyang and Nangao, the city of Nanli rises from the hinterlands of the Warpstone Desert, haunted by the baleful winds that blow off that cursed region. Nanli does not sound like a fun place to live.
This is the first one that actually annoyed me. So as you're working through the city descriptions, they have very few words, basically 2 sentences to describe each one. Yep. So if you've got 2 sentences and you also have a map, you don't need to say where everyone is unless its location is important to its description. Yeah, by this point, I've just reached like the 3rd one in a row where it says, situated here beside the road of whatever. I know this already. Tell me something I don't know. Now, the fact about it being beside the Warpstone Desert and that influencing it is important, but we get nothing about who lives there, what the city's like, how big it is, how small it is, or anything. And this is where I'm going to be gently criticizing here. The write-ups for the cities are poor. They give some details, but we only get 2 sentences for each. And with those 2 sentences, they could have added so much more detail. We could have got so much more character. But instead, they tend to say something like this. Situated on the Gunpowder Road, okay, who cares? I can see that on the map. Between Shenyang and Nangao, we're now into line 2 of only 4 already. I've learned nothing about the city except it's placed somewhere. The city of Nanli rises from the hinterlands of the Warpstone Desert. We only have 10 words left. I have learned nothing.
Also, I'm going to be that guy. No, it doesn't. Like, on the map, Nanli is...
Oh, God, it's got even worse. I didn't even bother checking it up.
Is right here.
Yeah. And the desert's all the way down there.
The desert's way down here. And then the road from Shenyang to Nangao doesn't pass through Nanli. You'd have to, like, I guess theoretically,
okay, so it's
you
worse.
go around the mountain.
Holy crap, I wish I'd checked the map. I'd missed that entirely. Okay, so not only is their description based purely on geographical location with a tiny detail added, the geographical information they've used is wrong. So I'm going to go beyond simply saying these are not great descriptions to these are bad. Just bad. Not good. They're badly written. They have not been properly edited by someone who's making sure that everything makes sense, and we are left with almost Blandy McBlandface. Here is a location that's situated beside another location, which is near to another location. That location, because it's a bad location, makes things spooky. Next location. Here's a location that's beside another location. Oh, they've got cannons, so we put cannons near the location.
I'm going to say something kind of controversial, which is, I think they said Nanli. I think they meant Dongli.
Holy shit! That's even more embarrassing if that's right. Well, I'm going to go check that.
Where they're describing, and it's on the road. I think they accidentally put the wrong city, honest to God. But
I think they have.
Like it looks like somebody mixed something up, which is weird.
Oh no, that makes sense of it. Look, if you take a look, let's have a look at the road.
Because like Nanli is in northern Cathay, so that part's right. But it's like they accidentally
wrote the wrong thing
of a different city.
They wrote for the wrong town. Yeah,
weird. I
love shit like that. Oh, that's really poor.
Good old head studio. Right. And then, actually just discount everything about Nanli because that doesn't seem to be about Nanli at all.
It might not be, but hey, who can see? Let's go to the Terracotta Graveyard.
Oh, Saint Box. You know what? I bet you're right, Saint Box. If you look at the Total War Warhammer map, then Nanli is between the two. But if you look at Games Workshop's map, it's not.
Oh, that is right. So this sort of thing happens all the time with writing, and I do mean a lot. In that you're given a source to work from, the writer, they write to that source and they supply their text to whoever is the editor. The editor then puts the book together and makes sure that everything makes sense. Now, that might not be the editor to do that. The editor might just review the text, and then you get a producer or a developer that puts the whole book together. But there's someone who is responsible for putting the book together. That someone has totally fucked up here, in that they have put a map in the book that does not correspond with the writing. Now, we can criticize the editing because the editing's not great, and most of our city descriptions they're just a bit bland. They're missing the cool, awesome detail that makes Warhammer bleed cool. But this is just a crime. I mean, either they fucked up badly or they're using their own maps.
I shit you not, this feels like somebody wrote this a long time ago when they made the Total War version of the map with CA. Someone wrote this description for that Nanli, and then when they updated their own version of the map and made it more complex and added more space and all that stuff, they moved Nanli and didn't update the description. Classic
Games Workshop moving things around. They do it. And the map for the old world has changed a lot in its different iterations. And they've moved shit around more than once, to the point that Kislev, for example, has, as we've discussed before, completely changed with the different iterations. And places like Astalia have completely changed because they ripped off a whole bunch of
we watched that change in real time.
Yes, we did. We watched that happen in real time going, look, this has happened. And then it all changed and we went, not a surprise.
Yep. Okay, last one. Terracotta Graveyard. Located in the land south of the Great Bastion, this thriving town has grown around an ancient battlefield that is littered with the broken remains of terracotta sentinels. It has become a resting place of sorts, where fallen colossi are laid to rest under the reverential care of the local population. That actually sounds like a cool town.
Yeah, it does it. I mean, does it? I mean, how far away is it from the Great Bastion?
It's relatively close on almost all the maps. It's like right underneath it.
Is it? I'm looking at my map right now.
So it's right. So here's the Snake Gate. Terracotta Graveyard is right there. So it's like in the mountains that lead up into the.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, sure. I mean, why is there more there than anywhere else? Is that where they've been gathered? Have they brought them there?
It's along the Terracotta Road, and it's bucked up right against one of like the inlaid parts of the Great Bastion. I assume that's where they just bring them after they're destroyed, which is interesting.
Sure. I mean, that's interesting. I think it'd be. I mean, it says we're fallen close. Yeah, they're laid to rest. They're reverential care. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm cool with that. I'm cool. Okay. I'll retract. I like it. Yep.
All right, we're gonna get caught up on super chats. But man, I did not notice that non-Lee thing until we were having this discussion. But that's why these streams are important.
Completely missed that one. That's cool.
Kurt Kobrak. Hello, handsome devils. Love me some talk. What dragon simply are you the most looking forward to being revealed next? I myself want to see Yin Yin the most. We love our girl bosses. Yes, Yin Yin. Yin Yin is the most interesting dragon child by far.
Yep, by far. And also the one that they're most likely to fuck up, sadly. But yeah, Yin Yin.
That's very true.
In some respects, she's so cool because she hasn't been detailed, and I'm afraid that when they detail her, they might end up making her less cool. But all of the snippets we have make Yin Yin by far the most interesting to me.
Azure Shadow. Usually, lore supports my matchup. How to justify Dawi versus Dawi battles in Warhammer? Full contact, HEMA, hair dye party, or don't talk about it.
Full contact HEMA. Hair dye party is an interesting one.
Yeah, did something happen at
right? So I am going to say something which is going to be relatively controversial, and that is Warhammer fucked up here. Actually fucked up. Because when I first started playing Warhammer, you could play dwarves against dwarves without any problems at all. It was cool. Dwarf fights were great. And that was still okay when we hit the 4th edition. Because the dwarves are written as a very staunchly, they're dwarves. We all know what they're like, but they weren't written as in they would never attack each other or they would never have problems or war never happened. In fact, civil issues were a core component of how dwarves would go because they were so stubborn and refused to back down, and sometimes it turned to fights because they're so stubborn. Then they went, kinslaying, killing any dwarf is a bad thing. They basically redoubled what it was to be a dwarf before, where they became basically caricatures of anything that would actually work in real life. And they became less real and more stoic and more dwarf. And it reached the point that by the time we hit about 6th edition area, I can't remember exactly where it smoothed out completely. I think it was about 6th, 7th. They'd hit hard 8, yeah. They just wouldn't anymore. And I think that's an absolute error because it's made the world less fractious and also less influenced by chaos. The classic chaos seed is that it can seed into anyone's soul. And the idea is that the dwarves just don't.
Yeah, it also goes against like the core concept of Warhammer, which is that anyone can fight anyone.
Totally. It's just not a good idea. In the same way that the lizardmen had to be rewritten so they could teleport anywhere so you could actually fight them, or the wood elves had to be rewritten so that the Azrai from the good old Athel Loren could get anywhere in the world through the world route so they could attack anyone. The whole idea is you're playing Warhammer. Everyone can fight everyone at some point or another, and that's a cool component of it. Except, dwarves don't. And I'm not so cool with that.
Yeah, the best thing I could suggest if you're trying to make it work for your own like stories and stuff is just maybe be more restrictive about what the term kinslaying actually implies. Like maybe there has to be a familiar component, and then it's like, oh well, it's acceptable as long as there's like certain levels of grudges or whatever.
Yeah, totally. I'm cool with it though. I'm now going to flip over and say on the other side, the dwarves that we do have, I think are super cool. And I think you can build brilliant cultural reasons for why kinslaying is bad, particularly if you take a look at what became with the Chaos Dwarves later. Why Hashut is not part of their pantheon. what occurred at the beginning of time, because we now know, because of Age of Sigmar, Shut was always the god of kingship. So what happened during the Cataclysm? And while, say, Lawhammer has answered that and gone the whole tale, that's not answered by Games Workshop. So we've got a super unofficial version in our game, but it's not done inside the Games Workshop version. And you could use that to justify that sort of thinking. But if you want to have them killing each other, just do it. Make your own story.
Stephen Lucas, last stream recap talked about how Teddy Roosevelt may be an inspiration for Magnus the Pious. Getting both nations out of a gutter before involved in a great war looks similar, despite the scar making him look older. I've never heard that before, but that's hilarious. Now, great. Now, whenever anyone brings up Magnus the Pious, I'm just going to mention him going, bully! Just forever. God damn it. Skylar Martin. I missed the announcement. We got here before an hour past this time. Welcome. Good to see you.
It is indeed.
Primo Janitor, thank you for being a member for 3 months. We really appreciate that. What dwarves think of Great Bastion weighs in? We have no idea.
Yeah,
I imagine in very dwarf style, there would be some part of them that would be impressed, but they would always find flaws.
Yeah, so this is something that I have a gentle to almost big annoyance with. Dwarves are Warhammer's builders, and they've been outclassed. To a degree, lessens what dwarves do.
Let's let the dwarves go bigger. Dwarf things bigger.
And that doesn't mean they need a big wall or a great bastion or anything else, but it does mean that they need to have something they can look at and say, that is at least as impressive as that other thing. There is a problem in Warhammer where to identify each one of the human, let's call them realms, they tend to go, and they do this one thing better than anyone else. And when it comes to Cathay, they've done that multiple times. They've basically said, it does this better, and this, and this, and this. And gunpowder comes from here. And they understand magic better. And they've got bigger walls than anywhere else. And they've got bigger this, and bigger that. And it lessens the setting because it makes all the other realms look stupid. Like, why haven't you done this? Seriously, why isn't there a giant fuck-off wall covered in dwarf runes? Because seriously, if the dwarves put their mind to it, they'd have it. Why haven't they held off the greenskins? Why haven't they done a whole host of things that they should have done? And the answer is because Cathay did. Because Cathay's was written later, and they decided to do a different version of it. And I sort of don't like it. I kind of wish it wasn't so perfect in Cathay because of this. Everything's bigger and better there, and it lessens the other factions by their extraordinary capabilities. And this is one that sort of bugs me.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see. This is kind of another one of those ones where we likely will have to wait until the roleplay game hits to really get any answers on, and I hope they think very carefully.
Yeah, me too. I don't think they will, but I hope they do.
Yeah. Sean Schultz, how do the Dragon Kids view Nippon Inn? We have no idea. That hasn't been explored yet.
Yeah, we've got some hints at the whole end border issues.
Yeah, but now seems to be rather salty about it.
But Nippon is deep down in the we don't discuss that, it doesn't exist area until they do.
Jusina Quixian, I did the math. 5,280 divided by 3 times 100, 176,000. That's how many men can stand defense on the wall one at a time. If they were like, I'm confused what this math is.
I'm not quite sure what the math is, Drusina. I'm trying to figure out. So where's the 5,280 come from? Why are we dividing it by 3?
Mile, right?
How many feet are in a mile? Okay, cool. So we've got that. Okay, so we're basically saying how many men are sitting along each one of the miles, right?
So you're giving a yard per human? That's a very tiny amount of space.
Okay, but they say they're going along the whole area, all bunched up. So that would be every 100 miles, I presume. You could get 176,000. Wow, there we go.
That'd be very squished. Very squished.
There you go. Cathay at its best, eh?
Skylar Martin, Andy, how does that work? GW, now before we write this section, chunk these shots, spin a circle, throw a dart at the population.
You have no idea what it was like behind the scenes when I was writing some books with basically the push and shove. One of my best, most favorite conversations was when I was down in Games Workshop. I was in Bugman's Bar, and I was chatting with some folks in the licensing team, and we were discussing population numbers. And I said, very loosely, as far as I can tell, the Empire is the equivalent of approximately most of Europe in terms of its scale. And its greatest cities should be at least as big as the greatest cities that historically Europe had. So there should be an equivalent of the Empire of, say, Rome and Constantinople. And they said, oh, yes, absolutely. The Warhammer world's a bit bigger. To which I said, well, if that's the case, then the population of Altdorf is probably at least 1 million. The population of Marienburg is probably at least 1,200,000. Is that the case? And do we use that as a starting point for population numbers? There was a pause. And they went, yes, absolutely. Completely. In fact, that makes more sense of the setting than what we were thinking of at the moment. Yeah, that's definitely what it should be. I went, great. So I went away and I wrote that. And I sorted out the population numbers with that in mind. I sent that off and I got a note back. This seems a bit big. And I was like, okay, we had this conversation and this is what was said. And these are the numbers that were said. They are bigger than the numbers that were previously in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay only, but they match Warhammer. If you don't want them to be that big, let's change them. And they went, oh, no, actually, we quite like this. And those numbers stuck. And then I resigned. And a new team came in. And they were stuck with a number that none of them agreed with. So they ended up doing the Altdorf book and mentioning the number 1 million. And then every other number they wrote after that made 1 million look so big that it made it look farcical because they didn't back up all the other towns with numbers that made sense. So they ended up with this super weird, huge city. And then they went, oh, and Mindenheim's got a population of about 50,000 or something. You know, maybe a bit more. And no,
yes, the hamlet of Mindenheim.
Mindenheim would need to have a population of around about 300,000 to match those numbers. Talabheim sitting somewhere in the region of about 800,000. Nuln probably sitting at just under 1 million, and Marienburg at least 1,200,000, plus a whole bunch of other really big towns and cities across the Empire. So yes to this. The numbers are just made up by different people at different times, and no one thought about their consistency. And when different writers come in, they've got their own views, and they're often predicated upon where they started Warhammer. And if you started Warhammer in first edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, you think every single city should be at best 15,000 strong, and that's it.
Man, this makes me. While I've been walking my dog on walks, I just listened to Horus Rising for the first time and just finished it. And listening to them being like, yes, like 100 to 1,000 space marines took over an entire planet. I'm like, okay, what are the logistics of this? Like, how are they exactly going about? How tiny is this planet? Is this like the Mario Galaxy planets? Like, what are we dealing with here? GW in numbers. It's a
just count the number of towns and cities in the UK. Drop one space marine in each and see how long they last. If you've got yourself, just say 1,000 people with auto guns shooting at them. Yeah, you haven't thought this through.
Yeah, no.
We're going to have to do a different sort of warfare. We're going to have to do air warfare, shoot them from space.
Ricky Chapman, we've had Altdorf be populated by 2 million people if you include all the mutants.
Hey, include all the Skaven. We've got an easy population of about 50 million.
What do you mean, Andy? There's a billion times a billion, Skaven. That's an official quote. That's official lore.
A billion times a billion. Oh, I love Games Workshop numbers. They're so funny.
Arcane Elgin, do you feel like someone could create fun lore for a player's army, or is there not enough lore to do that? No, that's easy.
Yeah, totally. I did that for most of my armies. Yeah, go wild.
Yeah, please. Vandelberger, IRLs, China had a soldier/farmer garrison system during the late imperial period, like yeomen in England.
Yep. And I think it would have been really nice if they'd sort of steered into parts of that, given the idea that it's not a standing army. It's not just this enormous army. It's because they don't need it. They only need it at certain times. So having yourself more of a yeoman army, an army that comes as and when it's needed, supported by elites of various types are constantly training, makes more sense than this 1 million strong army sitting permanently in front, like that. Oh, what was the movie? The Great Wall? Was that what it was called? The one with yeah. That's a proper stupid movie, but super cool.
Yeah, the creatures were great.
Yeah, that was super fun. There's lots of stupid things in there that made me super pleased that it even existed. Even though everybody who's involved with it knew it was an absolute stinker from the beginning.
Yes, they did. Yeah. Negative Player 97. Howdy, y'all. I've talked about it after the last stream. I'm starting to really appreciate Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, especially because it's better in quality and sensitivity than Fatal, Hybrid, and especially Rahowa.
Oh god, yeah, Fatal is one hell of an RPG. Let's just not worry about that one. That was over on Lorebeards RPG. If you haven't watched Lorebeards,
I don't know what any of these are, but sure.
I do. I know what they all are. If you haven't watched their RPG show, go watch it. It's super cool. There's lots of fun details in there, and I think you'll enjoy that stream in particular because it's a bunch of really bad role-playing games.
Sounds like I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Sin Life Dragon, Man Wall, Will Feed Mulets. I mean, honestly, there could be a logic to why does the Life Dragon man the Great Bastion? Because she actually has the capabilities of taking care of them.
And that's one of the few things that I think is almost a point that makes it worthwhile. If they just wrote a single sentence saying this, it gives Miao Ying such a good reason for being up there in comparison to everyone else. Not just her character. It's not just the fact she is who she is. It's the fact that she can do what she can do. She can bring fertility to the entirety of the North that allows for the... but except they won't do that, will they?
It'd be nice if they did, especially like being the Storm Dragon, the imagination that she brings, like fertile rains for people and crops and livestock, like would be huge for world building. It would make her really important.
Yeah.
Super Urlock, thank you for being a member for 4 months. Appreciate it. Ricardo Andre, Druchii Watchtower versus Bastion comparison. That is very apples to oranges. The Druchii Watchtowers are more like highly garrisoned outposts, watching over large stretches of just like they're more about, hey, there's a chaos invasion coming, we're gonna hold it off and see if we can stop it, but the main goal is just to send alerts, as opposed to a wall that is meant to stop everything.
I'd say that if it'd be me writing it, the difference would be one is a complete wall, but they're largely the same in that they're garrisons that will use that space in between in certain ways. But the Bastion has been turned less of garrisons and a big wall to defend, and instead it's just one giant garrison. And it's mental.
Yeah, now I can say this would actually lead to some really fun world building stuff about, like, imagine having a Dark Elf character like talking about how Cathay had to fill in the space with this giant obnoxious wall that they still let people through anyway. Whereas the Dark Elves have successfully thwarted entire invasions despite not having complete walls, which would make for some really interesting world building and like some really nice like friction between Cathay and Dark Elves and stuff like that. Gnivel. Weird, you can take Shukengun in the peasant AOL. I don't know what that is. Peasant in the peasant AOI? Let me know what that is.
Gnivel, we have no idea what you're saying.
Zero Damu, do we know if there's dwarfs in Eastern cultures? Yes, there are Dawi in the East. There are groups that have moved, that have come. Oh, armies of infamy. I mean, I wouldn't say it's that. I wouldn't say it's that weird, just because the army book doesn't have that many characters.
Infamy, that might change. Infamy. They all have it. Infamy.
Yeah. Jonathan King, dwarves are the builders of the world. Being eternally, the dwarves need to make cog forts for fantasy. No, stop it.
Yeah, I'm not hugely keen on the cog forts.
The cog forts, I love cog forts, but they are they should probably stay in AOS.
They definitely should stay in AOS.
Yeah, like, I think you could make the argument for like one batshit crazy engineer somewhere in the old world that has made something akin to one as like a whole adventure, but that guy would have to be fucking crazy. Dominic Lynch. Hi, who's Zavant
Conagher. So Zavant Conagher was created by Gordon Rennie for a novel and a bunch of short stories. I think it was originally popped in as basically a Sherlock Holmes equivalent in Inferno magazine. And he has popped up again and again ever since in one fashion or another. And the attempts to reconcile his old lore which, because when he was written, the lore was in one place. With the new lore, has been always funny to watch because he was someone who studied at more than one College of Magic.
Oh, that's actually very funny. Sig, thank you for the 4 months. Can you enable live chat to appear on VODs, please?
They are.
I will look into that and make sure.
I just checked this one. They are.
Okay.
So they should be live on the VODs, and if they're not, highlight one that you think it's not, and I'll go check it in afterwards, or Ryan will check it after.
Jonathan King, Mio Ying, I bless the rains up in northern.
I bless the rains up in northern Cathay.
Magladroth, for End Times DLC, are we getting Drakenfels and Dieter Helschnitt? Dieter Helschnitt has been confirmed, yes. The Nameless has been confirmed, but that's not the same thing as Drakenfels.
It is, but it isn't.
It is and it isn't. It's not gonna be Drakenfels, the character with the mask and like the iconic design. It's gonna be some kind of weird invisible shapeshifter-y thingamajigger.
Yeah.
And so it's not gonna be Drakenfels, not really. But okay, we gotta carry on.
We gotta get moving.
Western Cathay. Okay, let's get real into it. The harshest region in Grand Cathay, the Western Province, borders the Warpstone Desert, a vast area blinded by the Great Maw. It is, however, the gateway to the west, where the Ivory Road winds its way up towards the mountains of Morn, the distant lands of the old world beyond. Cool. No new info there.
Yep.
The city of Shengang, the largest city in the west. Shengang is the first stop for merchants with distant lands wishing to journey into Grand Cathay's vast interior, marking the end of a thread that connects the Celestial Dragon's realm to the old world. Bretonians, Estalians, Chileans, and Empire travelers, mercenaries, and ambassadors alike have a permanent quarters within the city. Sounds like a cool place for a roleplay supplement.
Yeah, it does. And not surprising, they only pick out a few places from the old world when the world is so much bigger, and they really should have said a whole bunch more there. But hey, we'll take what we're given.
Yep. Ivory Road, known as the Silk Road to the denizens of the old world. That's nice of them to bring back the old name for like people have different names for things. Yep. The Ivory Road stretches from Shengwang all the way to Talea. A long and perilous path is nonetheless a route well worn by merchants and adventurers. Cool. So just calling back basically the old Dogs of War book. Fun. The Warpstone Desert. To the north and west of Great Cathay, Warpstone Desert forms a significant barrier against the wilderness beyond. A cursed place created by the birth of the Great Maw is hostile to all natural life. Caravans passing through the desert must use special reflective shields to protect their goods and people from the baleful energies of the desert. I remember when this first got brought up by Andy Hall, it's like, that's super cool. I'd love to know a lot more about that. This is just kind of the same thing. Actually, he told us more at that time.
Yeah, he did.
I really want to know more about that whole thing. But
also, this is factually incorrect. It was not created by the birth of the Great Maw. It was created by the Astromancers who pulled a giant fuck-off Warpstone meteorite out of the sky. It was created by Cathay. The Great Maw was the result of what they did.
Yeah, this makes me... I don't know if this is the intent, but I really love the idea that this is what is spread around in Cathay. Like, I would love if the people of Cathay don't know.
Yeah, I imagine they don't.
Ever did it.
Yeah.
I mean,
cool. Imagine, that's cool. Nice I really wish the book had just frickin' said it. They've got enough space there to say it properly. This is one of those examples where we have a genuine lore break. So we either have to say they've changed the lore, which I don't think is the case. They've mentioned it multiple times elsewhere, or the writer made a mistake and just phrased it badly, which is, I think, the actual case. Or alternatively, we can use this as a little needling way of saying this book is a lot of bullshit and propaganda from Cathay. And that, to a degree, makes a lot of the book more palatable. But you have to make that guess because it's written in black and white. The truth is here, I think, that they just fucked up. But hey, we have what we have.
The Baleful Hills, south and west of Taisu, are the Baleful Hills. These desolate highlands are home to beastmen and bandits in equal numbers. But I thought Cathay was a land of perfect harmony where everyone was super happy to serve the dragons. Why are there bandits?
Yeah, it's a good question.
How strange.
Bring on, boss.
The Tower of Asher. Beyond the west Warpstone Desert, where the Ivory Road meets the mountains born, stands the westernmost outpost of Grand Cathay, Tower of Asher. Constructed from Jade and Jet, the tower houses a substantial garrison, drawing on troops from across the Empire. The monsters that roam the mountains born know well enough to stay clear of it. So this is just a fun reference to the tower in Tamarcon.
Yeah, totally. It's a fun reference, and it's also a pretty fucking empty one. When you look at that, men know to stay away. Oh, You always write that bland piece of nonsense. Oh, no, it's a thing. We don't know what to do. Mysterious. Bullshit. You could have written almost anything else and given it more character.
Yep. Now, this is where things get spicy. This is where things get really spicy. The ruins of Shinwu. The once great city of Shinwu was ruined when the Great Maw was created. It is believed to be a place of ghosts and demons.
Great.
That's
it.
So good. They didn't evacuate.
Yep, and that's great. This is the sort of shit that we could have done with a bit more of. It's blunt. It doesn't go into, and this city is over here and is connected to this road and is a place. It's almost like it's written by a different person. It was ruined when the Great Maw was created. It wasn't the Great Maw being created. It was the Astromancers pulling down a giant warpstone meteorite. So it was created when the Dragon Emperor went boom. The Dragon Emperor caused this to happen. And that's kind of fucking cool. Love it.
Yeah, I would have loved another sentence about the types of ghosts. Like, imagine people imagine if you went to a city where there's people eternally damned screaming for like the dragons to save them, or like trapped in that moment of when the wall of warpstone fire consumed them all and turned them into whatever they've become. And like, it's a land full of people that were so loyal to Harmony, and this is the reward they were given. Like, that would be a scary fucking place.
Yep, agreed. There needs to be more of this. This is our it's almost the only clean example of the dragons fucking shit up for their people. Badly. Really, really badly. And more of this. This isn't Sigmar sends down a comet and creates Mordheim mess. Nope. This is very much the dragons did this. There's no myth attached to it. We know this is the case. They might have their local myths and all the rest of it. And the dragons are responsible for fucking Cathay up. We need more of that shit.
Shinwu, honestly, of all the places that we learned about, easily my favorite place.
And all we got was like two sentences of almost nothing.
Yeah, but I
think, you know what? I don't want to say it, but I think that is, in many respects, the problem with the book. The thing that excites us most is the thing that's sort of new, shows that things are complicated in what it does, and doesn't have that much description, so they don't fuck it up.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, that's honest.
It's sad.
The Broken Road, running along the edge of the wastelands of Jinshin.
I hate this one.
The Broken Road is one of the more dangerous routes to travel in all of Grand Cathay. Please, why?
It's a dangerous road! Oh, no! This is, if I'd received that as an editor, I'd be like, rewrite this as bland, empty, and bullshit. Go. There's nothing there. It tells us nothing. Why is it dangerous?
Why is it dangerous?
What's going on? It's just a complete wasted section. God.
Why is it called Broken? Did it used to be a notable trade route before the meteor hit?
They don't say that. They don't say it was a cool place or not a cool place. They tell us nothing. It's a complete waste of space.
Yep. The city of Taisu, a major mining city on the western slopes of the Celestial Mountains. Taisu is the gateway into the higher peaks and villages and the many silver mines that honeycomb the mountains. Okay.
That's cool. Okay, so this is a nice description. It's not necessarily Warhammer, cool, but what it is nice. It's got some lovely little bits of details as to the sort of people and what you'd expect to find there. I don't have an issue with this one at all.
Obviously, the road gnomes. The Broken Road got with the road gnomes.
Oh, those road gnomes.
The road gnomes, man, they're treacherous. The wastelands of Jinshin. This cursed area around Shinwu extends to the west and south of the Broken Road. It is filled with monsters and outcasts, but also abandoned villages and forgotten settlements. What are outcasts? That's cool.
Knows.
I want to know more about that. I thought Cathay was a perfect society. How are there outcasts? How do you get outcasts from Grand Cathay?
This is a fun one because, look, a cursed area. Okay, so it's cursed. Got you. So why is it cursed? It doesn't really say. We can make our own guesses. Around Zen, we don't need that because we can see that. To the west and south of the Broken Road, now we're just duplicating information we already have because it says that under the Broken Road already. It is filled with monsters and outcasts, with our first core piece of detail. It's a dangerous place to go. Here we go. We've got something. but also abandoned villages. Well, obviously it's empty. And forgotten settlements, which is exactly the same as abandoned villages. What the fuck? Unless forgotten settlements means there's entire settlements of people in there that are still going. And it's not that they're empty, it's that there's an entire set of populations in there. And if we read it that way, this gives us at least something to grip onto.
Yeah, I would be... So this, they could have added just a little bit more detail here that would have been so cool. Like, maybe if they talked about forgotten settlements full of mutants or people mutated by the presence of the Warpstone Desert. Like, give us an idea of what does Cathay feel about mutants? How do they handle mutants? Do they just kick people out? Do they try to kill them and then they flee to the wastelands of Jinshin? Is that like the outlaw frontier where people live in the broken remnants of what was destroyed by the meteor? Like, if they would get rid of all the sentences that tell me where these places are that I could see on a map and would use that space to give me a little more details, there's a lot of cool shit that seems implied here, but I don't want it to be implied. I want it to be written down.
Yeah, agreed. And I'd like to pull out a comment there by Seg. Andy's recent solo Ulrich stream had no live chat available, or at least I couldn't find it on mobile.
It won't show up on mobile.
It's marked to go up, so it should be up, and I don't believe it shows up mobile, but I'm not sure.
It won't. You have to be on PC.
Yeah, I figured that was the case. So go watch your PC and it should be there.
I'm pretty sure it won't.
Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced how it works, but I know it's definitely marked. I just checked the video while we're here.
Hanyu Port. Last thing here. The port of Hanyu is the westernmost harbor of the Jade Fleet, built around a huge fortress grown from the hull of a beached war junk that once sailed the distant Jade Sea. Hanyu is a prosperous city near the source of the Great River. That's kind of a cool sound place. It's got a big old wrecked ship that is at the core that it built around. It's got that has a flavor. That's cute.
Yeah, it's locating it in not a bad way because it's suggesting there's a lot more harbors. Because it says it's the westernmost harbor of the Jade Fleet. So that's not just saying it's on the west. It's saying that there's lots of harbors down here. It's a sentence that's doing more work than you first realize. This is not a bad piece of location writing. It's one that's at least doing something. And the rest of it is explaining what it is and looks like this is pretty decent. The inconsistency in the writing here is what upsets me most. Because some parts you're like, okay, we've got a cool thing, got you. Other parts, it's just like you've wasted. Are you being paid by the word? Because you're wasting words.
Probably are. But yeah, to be fair, I mean, considering what I know about writing for these days, they probably are. All right, so we're gonna grab a couple of super chats real quick. There's only one. Okay, that makes this easy. Kieran Ferguson. I think the Shadow Dragon left to join Nippon. He saw the power being worshipped and became a kami that could borrow from Sekiro. He forced his way into the kami with unintended consequences. Perhaps. Yeah, that could work. That could work very, very well. I think me and Andy, I won't speak for Andy. I very much am subscribed to the idea that the Shadow Dragon went to Nippon. I think the what's, whys, and whens of it are extremely varied in potential. And I don't know if I don't think we'll ever get that story until Nippon, if and when, becomes explored as like a playable faction. But I am very much 100% behind the idea the Shadow Dragon went to Nippon.
I remain unconvinced it's the best route for it.
There you go. All right, so now we get onto a page that is simultaneously fucking awesome, but also very weird.
What the fuck? Oh, so, man, this page.
Elemental Winds. So I will say, gorgeous artwork. I love this art. The thing that is admittedly quite a bit controversial about it is that the colors for the winds is very strange.
Yeah.
Where basically we get the elemental winds is basically just the winds of magic, but it's winds of magic blow. Cathay's no exception to this. The dragon's throw makes them into spells, turns into object power and chain items. So it's magic. They have magic.
Yeah, it's magic.
What's a little weird about it, admittedly, is that they have the 8 winds and they give them colors, some of them, colors that don't make sense with what we know their colors as in the West, which you might be like, oh, well, maybe that's just a cultural difference, but that's not really how it works.
Yeah, there's something that needs to be said right from the outset. The winds of magic are universal. It doesn't matter where you come from in the world. They blow the same. And the winds of magic are perceived, arguably, differently. But the very nature of what they are doesn't change. So no matter where you are, actually, or how you perceive actually, it's always this great scudding hot wind that rises up towards the sun during the day and falls down towards empirical sources of heat during the night. And it scuds and it swirls and it's on fire. That is what actually is. That is what the wind of fire is. And each one of the 8 winds have all got their own character. Now, you could argue that culturally, each wind might be perceived slightly different because they train to see them differently by each group. I could kind of go with that. But the wind itself can't change. The spells can't change because it's certain sounds that create effects. So the spells don't change either. The spell Fireball in the Empire is the same as the spell Fireball in Cathay. The same words are spoken to make it happen. Now, you could have modifications of Fireball that make it act slightly differently, but ultimately it's the same logos, the same words, the same lingua prestantia, the same words of magic that lie behind everything that makes magic work. It doesn't matter what language you speak as a core, the language of magic is universal, as is magic. Except, of course, when Games Workshop says it isn't.
Yeah, and I will note that there's no explanation behind the colors. It kind of feels like an artist just made some cool looking art and didn't worry about it. Because the book conflicts with itself of like the wind of life or the storm wind, which we'll get into that in a minute. But like the wind of life on this wheel is depicted as like a dark blue.
Yeah.
But the most powerful practitioners of life magic in Grand Cathay are called jade-blooded sorcerers, which makes it sound like the jade wind of magic, which is what we call it in everywhere else in the Warhammer world, which seems to imply that in Cathay, they also know it as the jade wind of magic, but it's not represented as jade on this wheel, which it could just be an artistic choice for the sake of this wheel, but it adds unnecessary confusion.
Yeah, I kind of love the piece of art, but it's one that I would have sent back and said, we need this modified because it needs to be a universal, consistently applied form of how the winds of magic work across the world.
That's so silly. Like the Celestial Dragon Emperor is just colorblind to certain colors.
Yeah, I will say, because I'm going to take it seriously, it wouldn't matter. Because
Kieran,
it's not your eyes that see the winds of magic, it is your etheric senses.
Yeah, Kieran, this could be the case, but they get the colors wrong if this is the case. Because the storm wind or the wind of life should be black if they're using the cardinal directions to indicate the colors. But instead they went with like a dark blue, and iron or the wind of metal ends up being like gray-black.
And bluntly, it's not China. It's not feng shui. It's the Warhammer world. Use Warhammer's cosmology. Use Warhammer's rules. You can take lots of influences if you want. Go wild with it. But at its heart, it's got to be Warhammer. This isn't. This is an artistic rendition which falls out of Warhammer standards and leaves people who are attempting to make sense of the Warhammer world scratching their head going, yeah, they done not well here.
Yeah. So if we ignore the colors, there are some cool things here.
Yeah.
So we have the note of that they know them for Yang. You have water instead of life, light, fire, and stone instead of heavens, which me and Andy talked about in the past. And we're like, oh, that actually works really well under really specific interpretations. And then you've got wood, iron, death, and shadow. Wood, I would love for them to try and explore that more. I understand where they're getting that from the real world inspiration, but connecting beast to wood, I think it can be done, but it's difficult. It requires some finesse.
I'll go further. It's bullshit. It's genuinely bullshit. It's an attempt to ram in a different cultural set of magics into an existing set of rules badly. If you want it to be wood, that's jade. That's just what Jade is and always has been. Life, wood, the great tangle of thorns. That's the Jade Wind. It is not beasts. It's about as far from beasts as you can get. And making it wood is bullshit. Someone should have sat down and gone, can we massage this a bit and make it work? It's the same as when people tried to form the old Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1 set of rules, which had elementalism, which was the wind, well, air, fire, which we all know, earth, and water, and then tried to say elementalism was in fact just apply your winds of magic to that air, I suppose, Azir, and they tried to fit it in, and it sort of didn't quite match. And the best way to do it was they were mixing winds. They were not using the proper singular wind to do it, and Teclis came along and fixed them. And that's sort of what the old world does. It says there's elementalists, and later on, Teclis is going to come along and teach them how to do proper magic, which is the elemental winds of magic using the 8 winds. Cathayans should know better. They know what the winds are, and they're not this.
Yeah, there's going to be some poor bastard that is going to be banging their head against the Wind of Wood for a while, trying to make that work for several editions, I suspect.
I suspect so too, because it doesn't work.
There are descriptions of the various winds. So for the elements of Yang, we have the storm wind flowing from the north. And so one of the things Cathay does that I like is that each of the winds is given a cardinal direction, which is for the whooshing compass. So when they point the compass a certain direction, it empowers one of the winds.
It's also bullshit, though, because they all come from the north.
Yes, that is also true. So elements of Yang. Flowing from the north, the elemental wind of water brings with it the power of life and healing, but only a fool would believe the storm wind cannot allow a wizard to unleash devastating power when the need arises.
So I hate it. Why do I hate it? Because in the Warhammer world, there is no water in the north. For Cathay, there just isn't. This is, again, ramming in someone else's culture into Warhammer to make it feel like it is sort of the same as China. And they've sort of taken bits from there, and they've had absolutely no thought for actually making a Cathayan version. They're just going, we'll just stuff stuff in.
The thing that's interesting about this is I think GW I think they unnecessarily put it backwards. I think they could have made sense if they said which direction it flows out from the whooshing compass.
That'd be great.
That could have fixed this instantly.
Instantly. You just say the whooshing compass naturally throws the winds out in these directions. And then it's directs, then it can be all moved in different directions when the compass is shifted. That would have allowed them to take all of these ideas and easily reflected them.
Yeah, literally change all of these words of flowing from to flowing to, and it makes a lot more sense.
Yep, I'd be happy. And it also gives you the idea that all the winds are coming from the north, or indeed the south if you go with your south gate, all coming from the north, gathering around the compass of being thrown out. And all the wizards over in Cathay think of the magic through the lens of the whooshing compass.
Yep. The bright wind, the elemental wind of light, flows into Grand Cathay from the south. From the
that's not confusing things.
Yeah, a bright wizard. That's no. The other kind of bright wizard.
They're a light wizard. No, they're a bright wizard. Which one are they?
Yeah. The elemental wind of light flows into Great Cathay from the southwest, banishing the darkness and keeping the terrors at bay. Those who wield the elemental wind of light are often fiercely disciplined wizards who staunchly oppose the forces of the ruinous powers and use their magic to bring ruin to any of those who worship chaos in any form.
Yeah, my only major issue is, well, the direction makes no sense. Let's not even think about that too much. But my only major issue is they just named it wrong. Stop using confusion names. You can't say the bright wind because everyone that knows Warhammer will immediately associate that with red magic. They just will.
I don't know why they, because there's nothing about Cathay knows it as the light wind, so I don't know why they were like, oh, synonym bright. It's like, did you use another synonym?
Stupendously
the shining wind, perhaps?
Yeah, it is stupendously daft from the writing perspective. An editor should have come in and said, oi, we use this term, redo it. It's just wrong.
Yep. The burning wind, rushing from the south, the elemental wind of fire requires a balanced mind and utter focus to manipulate. In one hand, a wizard harnessing the power of fire holds the power to gently kindle new life. From the other, they can unleash devastating power that can snuff out allies and foes alike if wielded carelessly.
Fine. I mean, flowing from the south doesn't make a great deal of sense because there's not. You could claim from mountains and
let's just copy paste the cardinal direction.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done that better, but the rest is a pretty standard and not too bad description for that wind.
Yeah, the meteor wind, elemental wind of stone, blows to the southeast, is based upon knowledge of the unknowable and the reading of the heavens. Through the power of the meteor wind, practitioners can read portents of the future and unleash crackling cascades of energy upon their foes.
Hate it. Why do I hate it? Because whoever wrote it only knows what Azir is and has really gone away from the concept of stone.
There is focused on like all the
nothing in there.
Comets and celestial bodies made
there is tons that they could have done to make this match what Cathay thinks. They haven't. And I'm going to go the opposite to my previous comments where they're saying they're just jamming shit in. This time, they've done the opposite side and they've done sort of what I wanted, but without adding any cultural detail. This is just Azir and nothing else.
To the Yin Lords, the forest wind.
Here we go.
Blowing across from the sea of the east, the elemental wind of the forest draws upon the powers of the natural world and allows those who favor its power to connect more closely with their animal companions.
Bullshit description, badly handled.
That's a weird way to describe Gur.
It is a reach. This is just one gigantic reach to try and say, this is Gur. All the spells are about wood. No!
There are creatures in the forest.
Yeah, so that'll work. You know, there's also creatures in the sky. Maybe Azir is Gur. There's creatures in the sea. There's creatures in the sea. So that means Gyron is Gur. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's the whole that one's a struggle. That one is
it's a bad one. That's just bad.
The Iron Wind, drifting in from the west, the elemental wind of iron is wielded by the curious and the creative. It is the wind of change and transmutation. Though usually synonymous with the craft of alchemy, the Iron Wind holds the power to alter and reforge more than just metals and alloys.
Sure.
The Spirit Wind, the elemental wind of spirit, flows in from the northeast, brings swirling mystery and finality to the world, blowing most strongly when death must be endured or when eras of great significance must end, with events such as the changing of the seasons and the passing of great heroes, causing the wind to howl from the northeast with a great force.
Sure. Again, the direction is bullshit, but again, this is not bad. This is fine.
And lastly, the Night Wind. Creeping down from the northwest is the illusory and fog-like elemental wind of darkness, where wizards possess a dark heart might use the Night Wind to bring shadowy death and instill grave panic. Those that Cathay call upon its powers use it to conceal their allies from harm or confound the enemy with a heavy brain fog. Yeah,
there's only a single word that I don't like there, and that's creeping, and that's because creeping is often associated with dark as it creeps along, rather than those billowing clouds of smoke. It doesn't give the feeling of a fog, although fog can creep, I suppose. Not the best word, but other than that, yeah, sure, that's fine. For me, this is a mixed bag. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, and it should all be good because this is basic Warhammer shit. You can't get this stuff wrong. The winds of magic are so well known now, there is no reason to ever get it wrong. And here we have several examples of where they've just kind of fucked it up. And that's bad. Just bad.
Yeah, I do not envy the person that is almost assuredly going to be tasked literally every single time they write Cathay stuff to be like, all right, how am I going to explain Gur's Wood?
I reckon I could do it. I reckon with a little bit of time. I've not bothered thinking about it yet, but I reckon
I think it can be done, but I feel like every single person that's going to get tabled it's going to be a struggle.
Right, so just because it is worth having a small diversion on it, in the Warhammer world, forests are different to real-world forests. That's because when you first plant your forests, they pop up, and then they get old, and the older they get, they attract spirits, and those spirits give the forest life until eventually, for the very old forests, spirits manifest, small to begin with, then dryads, then eventually tree men. The oldest forests have got guardians that seeded them right from the very beginning, and they live. They are creatures. You can easily tie the forests as the oldest creatures that the Warhammer world has to offer. You can build something out of this. That's a single, I just made it up on the spot, way that you could make this work. No one's bothered to make it fucking work. No one sat down and said, oh, we kind of screwed up when we let them do this. We should have thought about how to make the woodwind work better. And they haven't. They just need to sit down and make it work. It's not hard. You can make shit up because we're creative people. That's what you employ creators for, to fix broken problems. This is a broken world building project. And nobody has sat down and said, let's build our world properly. And that lack of creativity is hurting their own world building. If there's anyone that cares about Warhammer just now in the Games Workshop studios who are doing this, they should be going, yeah, we're making our Winds of Magic set up, break. This is an example, much like Ice Magic, much like several magics in Warhammer, where you go, wait a minute, there's actually more than 8 Winds of Magic, isn't there? Because it's the only answer that makes sense with what they've written. And that shouldn't be the case. It should be the case that there is a universally applied 8 Winds of Magic that supports what moves into Age of Sigmar. And Warhammer writing and Warhammer writers keep fucking it up. I'm totally cool with more than 8 Winds of Magic. I mean, hey, it's Warhammer World. You do whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, yeah, but it seems like
Games Workshop's not cool with it.
I'm keeping it on 8.
I'm cool with it. Games Workshop is not cool with it.
Yeah. All right. We're going to give you some super chats. And then for the next couple sections, I'm going to quit spoiling y'all and reading it verbatim because we can just sort of fly through these.
Yeah, the next ones are pretty easy.
Biofit, how many of these cities has Be'lakor been punked? Potentially all of them, or perhaps none of them. Who could say?
Who can say?
Rival, wood and water should swap, in my opinion, especially with Yin Yin as the beast dragon and the sea dragon, water being representing beasts in the deep or something.
Oh, let's not even start with the dragons and the winds they're associated with.
Yeah, it's someone. Well, we know because it literally says it. You know what? I'll get to it when it comes up here in a second. So the next section basically just covers magic and Cathay. The next 2 pages. We have refined sorcery, which basically just says, haha, look at those old worlders being so stupid and using barbaric magic. We use separated wind magic because we're cool. That's basically all it says.
Mm-hmm.
And then the magic of the dragons. So this is where we get the discussion of yin and yang magic, which is referred to as Feng Shi sorcery, which is deliberately ripped from the Feng Shui, which we were talking about earlier.
Feng Shui, yep.
Which is basically that understandably GW basically took a real world mythological system and just stuffed it right into Warhammer. And some of it fit. Some of it, as we've been talking about, is a little like, ooh, that's a little bit of a tight fit. It can be massaged. They just need to massage it, which they haven't really gotten around to yet. Yeah,
agreed. I mean, they haven't. This entire section is fine. There's nothing here that's all that big or all that clever. It's an easy one to skip over.
Yeah. The one thing that is pretty interesting here, we do get a note about like the Celestial Dragon Emperor watched everything that happened. He watched the geometric web shatter and the wind like splitting from like all magic being silver light magic to being like the 8 winds, and that it's easier to control. Which like cool. We get some note about elves versus dragons as magic goes. And then the biggest thing at the bottom.
I forgot that bit was there. You know, the whole silver thing. I forgot that bit was there because it again contradicts Azir being there beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back to contradicting Azir being the core point of the birth of the Celestial Dragon, making him the Celestial Dragon.
The Celestial Dragon that is deeply tied in with Azir as his core function, and then simultaneously
there was no Azir.
Yeah, he predates Azir by a lot.
I had forgotten that entirely. I was just reading it as you said, I was like, oh yeah, that bit.
Yeah. The big thing that is a bit interesting down at the bottom is that as the dragons learn magic from mom and dad, each of the dragon children, we get confirmation, which we already knew, but we get does GW know that their Feng Shi means wind of death? I doubt it.
So that one I did know, and I was sort of going to leave it because I kind of don't want to drop on real world stuff, but yeah, that's what I was told also, and I'm no expert in language, so I can't be sure that's definitely the case, but given that someone else has now just said it, that makes me feel much more confident it's probably true, and that being the case, yeah, that's a bit stupid.
Yeah. But we basically get our confirmation that each of the dragon children is directly tied to one of the winds, which of course makes you wonder about the ninth wind, which they still have not even given us a little tidbit on yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or the ninth child, I should say. The whooshing compass, we get some notes here. So the only thing here that is most of this is just completely old information. The one thing,
there's one thing that I think is worth pointing out,
and that two things.
Well, no, well, there's more than one, but there's one thing I'm going to pop out because I remember when I read it, I went, they're making it a thing. They're making it a thing. The Warhammer world has never really had a name. And so whenever they refer to it, they often say the Warhammer world in previous editions. If they have to do that, they do that. Or they just say the world. Because it's the only world that matters. Nope, not anymore. It's now the world of legend because everything's seen through the lens of Age of Sigmar. Because that's where the world of legend name comes from, loosely. The world that was the world of legend, that which came before. And that is a bullshit term.
Yeah. All of the terms they use are AOS terms. Like whether it's Malice or the world of legend or the world that was, those are all AOS terms. If they wanted to use a fantasy term, they could use the Fated Place.
Yeah, that's been used in fantasy quite a number of times. Pardon me.
So like that would be a recent name. I don't know why they use AOS terms for something that is.
It's probably because it's the ones the writers know.
Yeah.
And to call it the Warhammer world these days is weird. Although it's what I was told to call it back in Fantasy Roleplay 4, and I was like, "Are you sure?" Because a lot of people just refer to 40k as Warhammer these days, which is weird to me because Warhammer 40k, and this was just Warhammer, but I get that. Exactly, I get it. But he's like, no, just refer to it as Warhammer World if you want. Go for it, it's fine. But this is a term, World of Legends.
I would honestly not be super upset if they would just get to like have a big meeting and come up with like a name for the planet, because like we named our planet. Surely they would have named their planet.
As I've said before in previous streams, there was a discussion about calling it Erd from the Empire description in more than one position, and it passed through approvals once, but I never used it because it always felt weird. It just didn't feel quite right.
The other note down at the bottom is, so we do get the confirmation, which we've heard the past, but we do get the official written confirmation about like Yang magic is put into the Great Bastion, Yin magic is put into the Celestial or the Spirit River. But the thing that we get down at the bottom, which is actually a bit interesting, which is not lore that I had actually seen noted or written anywhere, is that Yuan Bo, who is in charge now that Dad is gone, despite being a very proficient sorcerer, cannot actually control the compass that well, which is interesting. That is a genuinely interesting piece of lore that like we didn't know from Total War. We had never heard written down anywhere. But the celestial compass is apparently genuinely very difficult to control, which, to be fair, it should be, considering how ridiculously powerful it is. But Yuan Bo is struggling, apparently, to direct the flows of the magic, which is kind of cool.
Just bring this one up for you first. Yeah, no. World of Legend is one they came up with for Old World's release. I assume because World that was wrong for a product you intend to sell again. Yeah, it popped up all over the place when it came out, but it was used more of a marketing thing rather than a actual in-book term.
Yeah, it's
and
weird
now
to have it be the
it's an in-book term. Yeah, it's just a weird thing to see popping up inside the books as almost like they're calling themselves the World of Legend. What the fuck? Legend.
Yeah, what? That's I agree with Andy that's the weird thing about this. This implies that when you have a conversation between characters and they're like they use the term the World of Legend to refer to their own planet, which is weird. It's a weird thing to call your planet.
Weird. Just as a term, yeah, it's just very odd. But yeah, a nice detail about Yuan Bo. I like that one.
Okay, so here is a huge lore change.
Yep.
As Manticore, literally the first sentence, there are many practitioners of magic within Cathay, from secretive hedge wizards who quietly encourage crops to grow and broken bones to heal, to dragons. So there are secret wizards practicing illegally in Cathay.
Yep. And that's a lovely piece of lore change. That's a good use. It's an interesting one to open with. That's the sort of thing you'd expect to be in a bit of box text at the bottom saying, the Astromantic Court is this, and here's something that stands contrary to it. But they didn't do that. They open up the Astromantic Court, Hedge Wizards. It's just a weird editing choice.
Yep. The second paragraph is also kind of actually a big deal because Total War didn't indicate this to us at all. And this one gets really weird because this is where we get a very big clash of Warhammer Fantasy Battle against...
I'm just picking this one up because it's making me laugh. Quietly, that word should be banned. There's a reason, because AI text uses quietly all the time when it doesn't have another word that's even close as a synonym. And it's one of the telltale signs that someone's writing with AI text these days. And it bugs the tits off me because it's a word that I like. I no longer use it. It's so heavily used in AI writing that I've stopped using the word. But who quietly encourage crops to grow in Book of Steel. This feels like, and Lindsay said it, so I feel not bad in saying it. This feels like an AI-generated sentence.
Yeah, I mean, secretive hedge wizards who quietly encourage crops to steal. I mean,
that is AI text. Now, I'm not saying this is AI text for certain because the writer might just write like that. I sadly would write it. It's sadly how often I write as well, because there's certain parts of how AI writes that's very close to how I write.
It makes sense that AI just copies like the most common things that people write.
This one though, when I read it first time round, the word just jumped out at me, so I reread the sentence immediately, and I went, "Does it look like someone's just removed some M dashes?" And I went, "Oh, this does feel like AI text."
It's time for my favorite segment of every Lorebeard stream where we covered new GW lore is, hey, look, it's that thing from Lawhammer that GW stole. So in the second paragraph, we get the confirmation that Astromancers, which from an 8th edition Warhammer perspective, we understand to mean someone that is a practitioner of the Wind of Azir. Yeah. And that's usually what it means. However, it is worth noting that astromancy does not exist as a lore of magic in the old world. That's not a thing right now. That's not a playable lore of magic. So they come in here and they say, well, the astromancers, you see, learn all the winds of magic, which if you watch Lawhammer is exactly what wizards do in Lawhammer.
Oh, god damn it.
They have to experience all of the lores in order to become a battle mage and get like training, which I was like, oh, hey, I remember that part of Lawhammer when my favorite astromancer, what's a Chinese version of Elric goes on to master Azir by learning all of the different winds.
And seeing them and being aware of them. But yeah, this is an interesting one because basically they've gone, originally the Astromancers were probably just Azir. Now you know this, all of them, you're fine, go.
Yeah, even though if this was an 8th edition book, and we know this because an 8th edition book was written for Cathay for Total War, and that the Astromancers can only use Azir.
Yep. And they've gone against it completely.
Yeah, granted, there is potentially an explanation for this. It could very well be that the events that are about to go down with the Great War and the Time of Darkness and Disharmony, maybe it leads to an event where the dragons go, nope, only heavens from now on. Fuck you guys, you're only lucky.
That's never going to happen. You know why that's never going to happen? Because all the people who collect the Cathayan armies will be left with a shitter army. And they tend to avoid doing that.
No, well, I don't think we're going to get that far in the timeline.
Nah, but, you're probably right.
But if you were looking for a potential answer of what could be the case, that could be the case. And then the last part basically just tells us that we actually talked about this a little bit in the past, but you get kind of an interesting bit where if they master Feng Shing sorcery, these humans, they are allowed to become supreme astromancers, which are astromancers who use high magic. And the very bottom quite literally says that the elves refuse to teach humans high magic, and the Celestial Dragon Emperor is like, nah, fuck you guys, I'm going to teach these humans high magic. It's
a huge change.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting in like a way. It sets up for Techless, like it kind of tees up the ball for Techless. And I agree with Andy that I don't think we're ever going to get to this, but I would really, really love if Total War was allowed to have like a lore note about that Astromancers once practiced many wins, but after something happened, like humanity abused high magic in some way, that it was restricted from them.
High magic, as it was before, was you had to master all 8 winds of magic. Each wind took an average of 10 to 15 years to master, meaning that your average human would need to be alive for 100 years to reach the point of mastering them. Then they would need to master high magic, which would take an average of a lot of years.
Sorry. You're right. I wasn't even touching on the biggest important part, which is a human using high magic? What the fuck?
Yeah. So that upsets me because it completely rewrites the lore to an enormous degree. It feels like someone's never thought, what is a high mage, and looked into what they need to do. And it feels like they've done this. Oh, in the book, they're only allowed high magic, so that's all they have. Where the lore has always been Techless, for example, as a high mage, can do all 8 winds of magic and high magic. It's just for the battle game, he's left nice and simply with, hey, just have high magic, as are most high magic users, because that's how they balance the game. You've got the lore of high magic. Over here, he's got the lore of fire. Over here, he's got the lore of beasts, or whatever it might be. But inside the Warhammer world, not just the battle game, they have everything. And here, there is no thought to what high magic is, and it kind of upsets me.
Yeah, what this literally is a huge lore change for the setting, because what this literally says, what this is implying directly, and it even says in the text when it calls out the elves, this is saying that Techless and the High Elves lie to humanity when they say, oh, humans can't use high magic.
No, it's worse. It says that humans are better than high elves at magic.
Yeah, because they learn faster.
Much better than high elves. High elves spend years mastering this shit. What it's saying is, if humanity was allowed, it could learn high magic within a very short period of time, because humans don't live that long in the greater scheme of things. So by the time you're 40, for example, you can learn high magic, master all 8 winds of magic, and still be fine. High elves, it would take over a century or so to even reach that point. The number of times you see the descriptions of how long the lore masters of the Tower of Hoeth study to ensure they don't fuck up because magic is dangerous. This rubbishes all of it. It makes magic easy. It makes magic very easy, and it entirely rewrites all the lore that existed for the Empire, Bretonia, all the rest. But all of the mages all over the old world should be doing high magic, because this is some time ago. A lot of this will have been imported, reported, re-understood. There's going to be wizards who are sitting in the Empire going, the colleges of magic. Hey, I've already mastered 6 wins. I'm 21. I've already got my 6th win. What's your problem? Humans don't stop just because they're told they're not allowed to do a thing. They just go. Because humans are dicks. So they're going to have studied all this magic, and everything that's been established for approximately 40 years worth of writing for Warhammer is completely blown away by a few words in a paragraph, where they've not justified or understood how any of it could potentially work. And it is, for me, explosively huge, because it means we should rewrite everything to match this. How to do that?
Yeah, I really don't like this, and the thing that's frustrating for me is that the only reason they did this, which is annoying, the only reason they did this is because a rules guy basically sat down and said, well, they need to be able to use the lores in the big book, and we need them to feel like kind of Cathayan lores. So we want them to have access to high magic. And someone went, well, the only minis we've made for you are Astromancers and Shukengun. That's it. And the Shukengun can only be taken on a monstrous mount. It's a very restrictive choice. So what lores of magic are you going to give to the Astromancers? And if this were 8th edition, the answer would have been, they could use Azir.
Yep.
And it would stop right there.
Yep.
But because the Cathay army list is so restrictive, they came and looked at this and went, oh, they can use, let's see, what lores did they give them?
They should have just added their own fucking lore for the book.
They can use battle magic, elementalism, high magic, and illusion in addition to special rules from the Lore of Yin and the Lore of Yang.
Yeah, bullshit.
And it's like, they didn't need to do that, and it just massively fucked a lot of things up.
And it really, really does. It's one of those bits where they've just decided to cram in a bunch of rules, which changes all of the background to match those rules. And for those who love the background, you're just left shrugging, going, your world is bullshit. This doesn't make any sense at all. And I kind of don't like it. I'm cool with the rules going their own way, but surely it would have just been easier to go, give him his ear.
Yeah, I really hope that this is one of those things that gets retconned out in a later book.
I'm going to drop this one. This upside is Matt Schreiber's use of 3 lores is now actually feasible. Always was. Always was. Being able to learn more than Wind of Magic is one Wind of Magic for humans has always been the case. Teclis said it was dangerous and you shouldn't do it. It's dangerous because it can resolve in a whole host of dire after effects where black magic spins out of it if you're uncareful. And humans don't have enough time to properly master them, so they often fuck up. This is not an impossibility. This is totally fine, in fact, but mastering 3 winds is different to using 3 winds. Mastering 8 winds and the high lore is such an enormous level of study beyond. It's like, I'm going to study for my 44th doctorate now, and I'm 28.
Yeah, and I would say this is frankly kind of a consequence of high magic being reduced to just a battle lore in the Big Red Book, or in the core book. It's a Big Blue book, actually, which it never should have been, really. But it's one of the frustrations of this edition, where GW literally started the edition by going, we don't want army books to have their own lore of magic. But now, if you look at all of the new army books, the arcane journals, they all have their own lores of magic.
Yep.
Because they were idiots and backed themselves into a literally a stupid corner, because when they made the initial book, they didn't want to invest in the old world, and they didn't want to deal with army books. And so for like greenskins, they were like, oh, well, we're not going to make a greenskin book, so we're going to make a wall lore in the core book. And then they changed their mind when the game started selling well, and when they released the Greenskin Arcane Journal, they went, oh shit, we want to actually have a new lore of magic because we're now supporting the game, but we already have the lore of WoW, so what are we going to do? And some guy in the back went, the lore of trolls, which like turned out okay because we had giant river troll hags, and so that kind of like worked itself out. But this is consequence of that, of like the old world started off on such a stupid bad foot rules wise, and it keeps stumbling into these really bizarre decisions because it's trying to like get its footing under it. And it's like, I really hope second edition cleans a lot of shit up, because first edition's been very messy.
I think that's basically where I'm going to conclude in this one as well, is this is first edition bullshit, and hopefully this will be completely rewritten as we move into a second edition. And if it's not, they're just kind of fucking around with the Warhammer world in a way that doesn't make it better. It makes it genuinely worse. It makes the stories that it's been telling for the last 40 years all invalidated in a way that's not cool and fun, in a way that's done for lazy reasons because they're attempting to just cram rules into a very limited number of slots.
Yeah, and like I've seen some people suggesting in the chat, I wouldn't mind if like they go into a whole thing about like something is done to certain astromancers to force them to be able to use high magic, and there's like a horrific thing. But this literally just says like, oh, they just kind of go on a journey and travel through like the Pokemon gyms until they get all 8 Pokemon badges, and then they're like, I've mastered high magic. It's like, what?
Yeah, I just want to bring up that this is a general overall look. Teclis is now supremacist. He is, which is why he wants humanity weak. They kind of don't. They want humanity capable of taking out chaos so it never reaches their door from that side. They want them to be capable, and the best way to keep them capable was to channel them towards one of the winds. Now, keeping away from high magic, I think, is definitely something that the elves would want to do. But there's one massive problem here. If they can do it, they will. Because humans are adaptable, fast, and prone to pushing. So the idea that humans can channel multiple winds has been around in the lore almost from the beginning, and they can. And channeling multiple winds is, I think, cool. The fact that it's dangerous is cool. The fact that Teclis is right, that if you do multiple winds, things tend to go wrong. That's also cool. Now, is Teclis holding humanity back to a degree? Yes, absolutely. Don't disagree with that at all. But the high magic premise, the next step up, has been repeatedly said, this shit is big. Only the slang can do it. Only the high mages, the best of them, can do it. Most of them just can't. High magic is mental shit. Except now, it's something that all humans could do. And that sucks.
Yeah, I don't like turning high magic into a propaganda piece.
Yep.
Because it blows up too much in the old lore of like humans, skinks, like all of these other different factions that interact with high magic. Like high magic would be fucking everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they'd all have figured it out by now. All of the species would have high magic if it was easy. Dark magic, everyone can potentially reach, but it's so corrupting, it fucks you up if you're not an elf, if you're not willing to basically be a bad guy. Dark magic makes bad guys. That's cool. I'm cool with dark magic going all over the place. And you don't need to master all the winds of magic to do dark magic. You just pull it all in and hope and throw it out.
I think they were fine. It was great when they were like, Shukagids can use high magic. That was cool. That was a cool
makes sense as well. They'd probably be long-lived. Totally cool with that.
I think Astromancers, they went a step too far. Honest to goodness.
Yeah, I think so too. Unless they then rewrite what an Astromancer is, how long they've got to do their jobs, the fact that using magic makes them live longer for one reason or another, or something is literally done to them when they go to learn Astromancy. There is a big gaping hole in the lore at the moment, which they didn't fill. In fact, they did the opposite. They basically said everything else that you know about Warhammer magic is now stupid.
Yeah, especially because they didn't bother like making it actually enforced by the rules. Where it's like, oh, you can have a Supreme Astromancer, which is the Lord level version or a regular one. They didn't make it where like only the Lord level version can use high magic. The basic bitch hero Astromancer can use high magic.
And it's just like, well, why isn't everyone? You don't need... one last thing, because we don't want to dwell on this for too long.
Yeah, we're going to move on here in a second.
Warhammer magic does not need a teacher per se. And that's because there is a universal constant. If you say the right words and you can channel, you can make it happen. It's basically a little bit like, imagine Warhammer magic as clay. You go down to the side of a beach and you pick up some clay, or a river or whatever. You pick up some clay, you can form that into a shape and say, I've now got a pot. It doesn't take much learning to put that pot in a stove to dry it out and have something that works as a pot. And with a little bit of time, you might figure out how to make other things with clay, ranging from useful tools all the way up to buildings. Now, if you're a wizard in Warhammer, your hands are manipulating the magic. It's your etheric hands, but you can twist it around and channel magic in a variety of forms. And words turn it into shape. So you're twisting it around, and then you bring it into the real world by saying the right words. High magic just uses all the winds of magic to a degree and creates something special and big. But if you can manipulate magic, you could potentially do it if it was easy. Anyone could do that. You wouldn't even need a teacher. There's a reason there's various weird hedge witches and warlocks and oddities all over the Warhammer world. It's because anyone born with the spark of magic within them can start using magic. Indeed, sometimes when they're sleeping, magic happens around them. A potential fire wizard, for example, wakes up and he's burnt his house down because he had a bad dream. And that's the first sign you've got a wizard in the local area. We best take them to the colleges of magic or some equivalent. If high magic was easy enough that anyone could learn it, they all would have. It would be everywhere because magic wants to be known. If you go with some of the weirdest parts of the lore, every spell is a Tzeentch demon that sits inside your head and is waiting to be picked up by the fucking scribes and returned to Tzeentch. And that's the case. The high magic spells want to be cast. They're everywhere. But that's not the case because high magic before was extremely ritualized, extremely pure. You have to be exceptional to be able to make it work. And that is no longer the case. So thus, I call bullshit. I'll try not to say any more on it.
Yep, Super Cats! TS, each race should have their own name for the world.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the high elf name previously was, for example, the fated place, which you could then translate into whatever your preferred version of Eltharine was. That's generally the word that was often used by the elves.
Yep. Bilefoot, have the inlet carousing peoples. Stop it. The Lorebeards Strigoi line. Oh, that's what y'all called your Strigoi line? No. No. Make it over to Cathay in any real way, maybe as monster hunters. So, okay. To answer the actual question you're asking, would the Strigony people have made it over to Cathay? Yes, I think they absolutely would have, because they're a nomadic folk. I think they would have wandered that far.
I think that if we were building them as, I think,
I don't think there'd be a lot of them. I think it'd be very few, but I think
I would prefer it was the case, because it would be an example of using Warhammer world building and extending it further than real world building.
Yeah, especially, I don't think there would have been a lot many that make the journey nowadays because of how expensive and dangerous the journey is. But I imagine after the fall of Morcane, a good number of the human population migrating east to escape what happened, and making it to the lands of Cathay. Elemental Exposure, some Warhammer Fantasy Battle, my favorite 40k lore channel. Love it, JK. Missed you guys. Hey, we really appreciate the 40k guys being the heart
filling the gaps.
Yeah, the heartbeat of consistency while we're doing stupid shit. So that's great.
Searing Doom.
Searing Doom! Desire Grim Kelto of Legend. Get out. Tiplam. If only worked, if they could do something to make human learn magic faster. I know a Bretonian head witch's homebrew memory crystal spell that's going to get a small lore extension to stop this from happening.
Yeah, quite right, Tiplam. I agree.
Yep. Federico.
Thank you.
Hello, Andy and Ryan. Hope you guys are doing well. We are. Things I don't understand. How come there's only one line of dragon? To me, it would make sense to have, or to mention there were several dragons to explain the Shukengun around. So,
as in, why is there only, say, a handful of dragons making all the Shukengun? Because that's the story they decided to choose. I think that basically saying there's only a handful of dragons in Cathay is kind of bullshit. Dragons are such a core component of Eastern myth that to say there's such a limited number, while over in the West we have literally thousands of them. Thousands and thousands and thousands is a bit crappy. It would have been lovely if there'd been a variety of others kicking around doing stuff. And I've got a feeling that as we move through editions, you might find that the top tier dragons just simply become the top tier dragons rather than the only ones.
I am also deeply suspicious that there will be more Eastern dragons and draconic creatures appearing in Grand Cathay as time goes on, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, it's silly when you think about it with any thought, particularly when you consider that the dragons of the old world are not the same as the dragons of the East. But they're still just dragons. Look at the number difference. It makes no sense. Just look at it for a moment and try to make sense of this. And you go, high elves helped those ones a bit, I suppose, or something. Old ones did it. It just doesn't make sense. Dragons are fucking cool. Let's get more of them, please.
Last one before we get into the next section. Owl Knight, thank you very much. After Greasus in this stream, whose mess up affected the world and its people more? Cathay meteor, Salon's earthquake. Salon's earthquake by like a gajillion miles. The meteor had some dramatic impacts, but the Salon's earthquake literally brought like several civilizations to their knees.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that if we're discussing the world, it was the creation of that fucking hole all the way through it, the birth of a new god, the wiping out of a civilization too, and prolonged effects that to this day have fucked up the oceans everywhere. The entire world's fucked. I mean, it sort of is. It's just a bit borked down there. And I like that. Yeah. The death of a bunch of dwarves, the death of the Bastion getting a crack in it, and if the Skaven doing some fucked up shit. Yeah, sure, lots of people took advantage of a big, massive fuck up. But I think in terms of fuck ups, arguably the fuck up of the Dragon Emperor was bigger than the fuck up of the Slann.
No, I will say, in the Slaane's defense, the Skaven Doomsday engine played a core role in the fucking up portion. It's not entirely their fault. Whereas Cathay, that is entirely Cathay's fault.
100%. And, it's just so we can talk both sides a bit, really. Yeah, they're both pretty fucking shit.
Antonio, hey, Lorebeard, the East?
The East
cool.
is...
but where's delay? It's coming. It's on the schedule. It's
now coming.
We just life, but it is coming. I promise you, it's coming. All right. So the next section, we're gonna blitz through these 2 pages really fast because most of this is just kind of like this unit is cool. Provincial forces. The only thing that I find particularly interesting here is it talks a bit about like the dragons and their armies kind of have some flavor. The bottom one, just I'm glad to see them bring up the specific of that the Western armies that they have a lot of war machines and mercenaries, which we now know thanks to Total War, those mercenaries are like tiger warriors and ogres and all sorts of crazy shit.
Yeah.
But we get the interesting thing at the bottom where the Iron Dragon is very open to accepting strangers into his lands, and his relationship with his people is frowned upon by his siblings. I'm glad that's still intact.
Yeah, I can nothing to say here. It's just stuff we know.
Yep. War on all fronts. This one basically is just like there are enemies in all 4 directions, and they have different themes. They have different flavors. North is chaos. West is ogres. East is corsairs and brigands, which I will note, me and Andy are looking to be right in some of our predictions, because if you haven't seen, all of the old Dark Elf minis have been removed from the website, which is what has happened before they have released new arcane journals. So Dark Elves might be coming back to the old world real fucking soon.
Fucking hope they are. On this one, I am genuinely disappointed there's no mention of Nippon. I mean, it doesn't hurt them to mention these other places because no one expects an army to release next week. They mentioned
Estalia like it's going out of style.
Yeah, Nippon, fucking hell.
Used to say.
Where the fuck is Nippon in here? Because in older versions of the lore, the mention of Nippon and Cathay was high because Nippon had the best fleets. They were a smaller nation than Cathay, but they held off the fleets of Cathay because they were so dangerous. No mention of Nippon at all because they don't want to. And that sucks.
Yeah, it's very, very I'm so morbidly curious. I really hope we get Nippon one day. I remember I've talked to Andy about this. I remember hearing some rumors along the rumor mill that there were like discussions at GW about changing the name of Nippon to something else and not wanting to call it Nippon anymore, which maybe could be why. But if that was going to be the case, they should just use the new name. But they should be referencing that nation because it's still there.
Yeah, they're willing to just reuse Korea's name, which they've done already. Why the hell are they worried about Nippon? Bloody hell.
Yeah.
It's oh man.
Who could say? Commanders and strategists, there's nothing we need to go over here. This is basically just explaining the different lord types.
And it's some pretty dull writing. It's fine. There's nothing new or exciting here.
Yep. For honor and duty is another one of those sections that is like almost grotesquely propaganda, where it's like it's a privilege to die for Grand Cathay. It's like, oh, geez, okay.
There's some of the writing around these sections are again something that you just feel like a more clever writer could have made it feel like this was actually the propaganda that they had. So they'd be saying rather than just saying it is said. People say that sort of shit, but it's not just it is this. It's the people think this or say this. It's what's shared. It's the in-world detail. It's not the objective God tone detail.
Yep. So nothing super interesting here. It's very like the people.
Let me just bring that one up. Or Cathay, just the old name for China.
Yeah,
that. Gosh darn it.
The section after this, we get Defenders, which is just paint schemes. They're just like, look, here's some ideas to how to paint your minis. Which cool. Okay, nice.
Yep, there's some bits. Sure. Fine.
Then, oh boy, then we get to the genuinely crazy part of this book.
Here we go.
Shadow of Chaos.
Here we go.
Oh boy. So this book and all the Cathay books have done a lot to just fillet Grand Cathay like it's gonna shoot out gold, and just talking about how Cathay is perfect and it's wonderful and it's great and awesome. And then we get to what could really only be described as kind of a fucking horrifying story about how the dragons treat Grand Cathay. And it's not flattering, which I like. I actually really like this story. So basically, this is a story about a time that the Great Bastion fell. This isn't a modern story. This is a story that happened a while back. Which kind of makes this book's really, it's just kind of a fluff book to just give you rules and add some stuff.
It's not well named.
Yeah, if you're following the narrative of like what's happening right now in 2387, you could completely skip this book. This book literally has almost nothing to add.
Agreed.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like I'm fine with more lore. It's cool, whatever. So this book talks about that basically in the years leading up to Miao Ying leaving Grand Cathay to go help in the Empire, there was a big invasion that was building up to attack Grand Cathay, and Miao Ying's like, ooh, no, we got to deal with this like right now. And there is some fun stuff here that I actually kind of like, which is that Miao Ying,
some bits I hated.
There's a Miao Ying, one of the things that this makes really, really clear is Miao Ying only cares about one thing, which is the Great Bastion itself. What's interesting about how she's characterized in the Great Bastion section and the Harmony of War section is that Miao Ying cares more about protecting the wall from damage than she does about the people that the wall is supposed to protect.
Oh yeah,
which is spicy.
I'm cool with that. That's not a bit that made me upset.
No, that part's fun. We'll get to some goofy parts. So we get to the Harmony of Great War section, which basically talks about that Miao Ying does something kind of fucked up, which is that in order to protect the wall from damage, so to protect the Great Bastion from taking damage, she deliberately weakens the Snake Gate. So for those that don't know, the Great Bastion, it's big. It's got 3 sections that are meant to be these giant gates that open that allow large armies to pass through. It's the Snake Gate, the Turtle Gate, and the Dragon Gate. The Snake Gate is the one closest to Nangao, and Miao Ying deliberately just weakens the fuck out of the gate, where she doesn't tell anyone. She doesn't tell the garrison. She just purposefully like it's so crazily fucked up. She deliberately sabotages her own defenses and like doesn't support the garrison, leaves them underinformed, undersupplied, and undermanned, knowing that it will lead to chaos attacking and murdering everyone in the at the gate.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a ploy in the sense of like you might read in a novel where there's like a scheme where they're like, oh, we're gonna make it look undermanned, and then when the enemy attacks, we're gonna fall back. Miao Ying goes, no, it needs to look legit, so I'm gonna make it legit.
Yeah, I have some significant issues with this. So we've got our 3 gates, which invalidates so much of the pressure that the wall would have anyway. They'd only ever attack the gates. That's it. That's all they'd attack. There's no point attacking anywhere else. It's a weak point. So the entire premise of what she's saying doesn't exist because they are already the weak points. And if they break, then the wall doesn't get damaged. The whole setup that they have is already the story they're building. And not only that, their map shows this. They have got a nice little map which shows where all the Chaos Forces go. Guess where they go? The 3 gates. They don't go to the walls anywhere else. They just go to the 3 gates. So now we've got loads of chaos coming. How many is loads of chaos? I quote, thousands. We already know there's about 1 million on the walls. So I don't know if you know much about numbers, But I think you might know more about numbers than whoever wrote this, because it doesn't add up. They've got either two writers, one writer writing with thousands in mind and another writer writing with hundreds of thousands in mind, or alternatively, we've got one writer who just isn't paying attention to what they're writing. So thousands gather in the passes to come down, and she lets thousands through. Bluntly, thousands of largely close combat warriors bursting through the gate means nothing. Honestly means very little. Yes, there's going to be sorcerers and a bunch of other things, but only thousands? Hell, the local city just around the corner's probably got a population of 1 million. They can just sit up there with their bows and their guns and their dragons and their fire. It's not going to be a problem as the balloons go down and just drop everything. Oh, there's a big chaosy thing. Yeah, whatever. There's only a few thousand troops. Who cares? First, the Bastion's too big to be threatened by the troops that they describe. That's an issue. Secondly, the core premise of her plan is already the plan of the wall anyway. It's not the cold, heartless thing. It's the wall has 3 weak points already. They attack the weak points. She doesn't need to make one weaker. The walls are never really in danger if we go by what they've already set up. This whole thing is borked. It's just we want to show Miao Ying as a cold calculating individual who will use her own people to protect the wall. I love that as a premise. Love it. It's great. If someone came to me and said, I want to write this story, I'd say, go. How are you going to write it? They then say, I'm going to write this, to which I'd say, bullshit. Write the story you said, not this.
Yeah, it feels like there's a missing part where, like, there should have been a significantly larger chaos host. B, they should have been damaging the wall, like launching things at it, or like hell cannons, or like something should have been happening where she goes, oh, okay.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm going to deliberately sabotage my defenses to let them in so they stop doing what they're doing.
We got to get them pouring through.
It feels like these little like sections, because there's like 3 paragraphs per section. It feels like there's a missing one.
Yeah, it feels like there's a part of the setup which basically says the walls are going to get fucked. That we're screwed. And Miao Yang looks at it and goes, hey, we're not going to be able to hold these walls. These walls fall. Every single brick that falls is a danger in the next time they attack. And the next time after that, we've got to do something to keep these walls high. So what do? They figure out a plan to make Chaos think they're winning. That's great. At the cost of our own people, that's horrible. That's really cool. The whole premise of the story is cool. The execution of it is almost terrible, I think. And if you just read it, not think about it too much, you just sort of skim through it and you go, yeah, that's okay, and you move on. But if you actually read it and consider what it means, you go, well, this is sort of nonsensical. Her whole plan just is a bit daft. The setup is a bit daft. The pictures that we see of the walls getting largely pulled down sort of don't match the text. It's all a bit of a shame.
Oh yeah. The art does not match what happens in the story like at all.
Yeah, it just left me a bit sad because this is the high point of the whole book.
Would have been an easy fix. It's not a hard fix at all.
This is one where an editor can come in and say, yeah, I see what you're trying to do here. This is cool as shit. Yeah, let's do this. And then sit down with the writer and say, okay, here's the bits that you've messed up. Okay, what can we do to tighten this up and really make it pound? Really make everyone go, oh shit, Cathay's in trouble. And Miao Ying does something terrible, truly awful to protect what she sees as the long-term prosperity of Cathay. And what is the long-term prosperity going to be built on? The lives of her own people. And they are going to be saving the future generations when the walls get attacked in future. So she makes a really difficult decision and executes it. All of it is great, but the actual execution of how it's written really, really is a bit pants.
Yeah, the part where they're talking like the actual strategy and tactics with like numbers and stuff, it feels very noobish.
It sort of does.
Yeah, but anyway, so
I love the idea.
Yeah, I can just summarize this all as the overall gimmick of the story is fun. Of that Miao Ying deliberately sabotages the snake gate so that basically the horde of chaos comes through, and they just needed to add some more stakes and make it a lot more chaos guys. But eventually, so the chaos horde passes through the gate, sends some riders back out, and a bunch of the chaos horde comes pouring through the gate and starts marching in. Once again, the shit that Miao Ying does in this is genuinely horrifying in a way I really like. Of that talks about there are entire villages and towns that are caught unawares. There are hundreds and hundreds of people, peasants, artisans, and villagers that are caught by the legions of chaos, tortured, killed, sacrificed, just to bait them deeper inland. Which is...
The numbers make them hundreds lay dead. Fucking hell.
Like, who cares, right?
Fucking hell, hundreds. I recommend you go read about Real Wars person who wrote this and the devastating effect that can occur from proper wars. Hundreds being dead is such a modern view of how war can be done, where, there were some flyby shootings and like 400 died over the course of multiple weeks because of ground forces, old wars. No, this is not cool. The bit that bugged me most, because, I love to pick out a bit that bugs me most.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's just one sentence. And it's in the very last paragraph. I think it's the last paragraph. Let me just, I'm pretty sure it is. The very last paragraph that says, "Once more, the servants of the ruinous powers have been defeated." I hate that sentence with a burning passion. Why? Because it utterly diminishes chaos, as in there's someone that always loses. They're always losers. Once more, they lost. Once more, they're defeated. Bullshit. Chaos is terrifying. Why minimize them like that? That is a line an editor should immediately go, "Oi! Stop making chaos shit. Chaos destroy the world. Why are you making them shit? Why are you making it look like it's nothing? Ripples of victory spread out from here. Aha, we're amazing." Bullshit. Make it cost. Make this victory cost. Don't make this victory a, "Yay, we've won." That diminishes what Miao Ying did. It diminishes chaos. The whole thing is just bleh.
Yeah, it's it's weird when the writing's just bizarre sometimes.
It is.
It's like there's a nice part in the map page, where in the second paragraph of the match page we say, "In payment for this victory, lives and land have been sacrificed, and the promise of a bleak winter for all those who had been denied their harvest."
And we've got some sort of cost.
Yeah, like I would have loved more about that, more of like the rising conflict of, would there have to be suppression? When people the disharmony that Miao Ying has caused to ensure that the wall stands, that would have been cool. Yeah, like if I was making a Warhammer Fantasy roleplay character, a Cathayan character in the old world time period, I would be gunning to play a character who is from one of the places that Miao Ying just fucked. Because you get to make such a cool character who has this horrible, imagine you coming home and finding out that your neighboring village where the love of your life lives and maybe one of your siblings was just ripped apart and basically fed to a chaos horde to be tortured and all of that other horrible stuff, which, man, I'll say as a random aside, so I've been doing a lot more reading lately, which has been very good. Actually, I've been enjoying it a lot, and it's helping a lot with my sleep schedule and mental health. Highly recommend reading for anyone out there. I've been reading Drakenfels for the first time. Holy fuck, I forgot how brutal old fantasy,
it's great.
It's going, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Drakenfels is a lot of fun.
Dark. God damn, dude, this is really fucked up stuff. Anyway, but so there's so much. It's literally this book in a nutshell. Which my summary review, because this is it. We don't need.
Yeah, we're pretty much done now.
We're done. Well, okay. There's a couple of little things I'll call out, but outside a couple little things, I would literally summarize this book in a nutshell as amazing implications, poor execution.
Would I disagree? No, actually, I think that's fair. There's loads of really cool ideas in here. but the actual execution of describing them and bringing them to life is bewilderingly inconsistent. It's not all bad, but it is often very bad. And that's unneeded. It's just not a necessary way of building your books. It just takes a single editor of any quality to say to the writers, look, you've done a good job here. Can we duplicate that job over here, please? And we have a good book at the end. Someone who actually cares that every paragraph is doing a job. It's not just there blithering on about where a particular location is cited for like 4 or 5 words. Then the next word's doing the same, and the next word's doing the same, and then saying, and it's also dangerous. Fuck off. Tell me something meaty. Each paragraph has to do a job, and that's often not the case with this book.
Okay, super chats getting caught up here. Krimgal Tome, Yao Ying used her sawed-off card on the Snake Gate.
So if you don't know what that is, that's a Dark Deeds reference, a game that you should all buy. I say that in particular because I just looked at the sales today and they're nowhere near as high as we need. So go frickin' buy Dark Deeds. If you haven't bought Dark Deeds, I have to ask why. If you were in GothCon, we sold out because everybody that saw it was like, holy shit, this game's amazing. So yeah, we sold out. We sold out so much, in fact, that the local shop that was there, because it was one of the big stands from local shops, we found out they had copies and we sold out all their copies too. It was super fun.
It's genuinely a super duper duper fun to play game. I know because I've played it.
Go play it.
I don't make any. I get nothing from that game being sold.
But it is in English.
It's sold in French.
Yeah, you're right. It's not in French. No, actually, I did because we had a licenser who was considering picking it up. So yeah.
Oh, well, no. Yeah. We would have had the Chaos Army be in the 800,000 range. Colossal Chaos Bond, a Bone Grinder Giant, a horde of Harpies and Furies, bloated demons of Nurgle using sorcerous plagues to wear down the walls led by an Elder Shacket. Yeah. It should be
great. That's exactly what it should have been. It should have been.
Fair, that's what this is.
Yes. I mean, look at that.
There's a Chaos Dragon, multiple Chaos Giants. Like, shit's bad, yo.
Yeah, and that's just one tiny part of the bigger force. Whoever did the art had a greater appreciation of the threat than the writer.
Yeah, and the writer just didn't. Was like, it literally reads like a Marauder horde was being kind of annoying. It's like, I feel like we could do a bit better. Okay, grabbing some last little lore nuggets out here. The minis are gorgeous. I will say that. No complaint about the minis. They're very pretty.
No complaints on that side at all. Yo, awesome.
I'm just doing some speed reading here to look for anything that really catches out my attention.
As I recall, the Astromancer basically duplicates what's before, basically saying the Astromancers are the colleges of magic. They've changed that as a general idea.
Yep. So yeah, the Celestial Mages, the Celestial Court. Yep. It just kind of comes off as it slanders the old world mages some more, and
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and then is like, they can use cool high magic, which like, okay, sure. Warriors of Winded Field, thousands upon thousands of villages and towns, small settlements outside grand cities. Cool. They favor spears and bows. Yep. Most of the other lore snippets that are kicking around are exactly that. They're not really bringing anything new to the table. What they're doing is they're re-describing it again, and without any. It's one of my issues with most of these books. They're not looking at the space and going, how can we get the most in here that makes everybody go, this is awesome? How can we make this bleed cool? Often it's just, we've got a space here. We need to write something. Let's write something and pop it in. Right, job done. That's done. There's a lot of space left in the page. Who cares? We've already written something. Let's move on. And a lot of it just is a bit bland, repeating the same core information. There is a part that makes me laugh with the Ironhail Gunners where it specifically calls out that they're used in cities to how devastating they are in close confines, which is funny, but also terrifying to imagine like a police force that uses fucking blunderbusses in the streets. Like, good God, get out of the way. Okay, something that is interesting and worth pointing out: Celestial Forged Armor. I find this part a little bit interesting. So Celestial Forged Armor, which is like the super armor, which a lot of the armies have. So it's like your Gromro for the dwarves or your Ithelmer for the elves, etc. So whenever you have these forms of armor, they usually come from select locations. Gromro is actually a bit of an exception that can be found in a lot of different places, very deep down and such. So from here, we note that Celestial Forged Armor is basically a form of Gromro, where the Celestial Forged Armor is made from the meteoric ore that only comes from the mountain of Kunlun.
Yeah, that's a nice wee detail.
Which
like
seems to imply that either it is Old One tech metal that slammed into the mountain ages ago, which is likely the case. And would explain some of the fucking weirdness of that mountain, because that mountain do be crazy. From there, I think that's quite literally everything of note.
So on my side, this might come as a shock to hear, but I actually quite like the book.
I did too.
Okay, and I know that's going to sound slightly ridiculous given how much I have just completely tore it a new one, but I quite like the book. I don't like its execution. I think we can both agree that it's not great, but I do like what it's attempting to do. I like what it's... You know what I like about this? I like the pitch. That's a good way to
I
like what the writer has pitched to me and said, this is what I want the book to be. And I read that pitch and I go, oh, hell yeah. This sounds like it's going to do a lot of cool, fun stuff. I dislike what the writer handed in with the finished text. And this is where I would have gone back and gone, hey, your pitch was great. And I see what you've tried to do and you're almost there. I think we need to sit down and go through the text and pick out the parts that could be done better. And some parts need a lot of work. And these are the parts I'm going to highlight. I'm going through the whole thing, send it back to the writer, and have them cursing at the screen going, Andy, I hate you, and everything about you, my work's perfect. And then 4 or 5 days later, go back to it and go, okay, fair enough, you've got a point. And then gone through it step by step. No writer likes to have an editor come along and say the things that they've done doesn't come up to scratch. But I would have justified it. I would have explained it. Nice, clean explanations for why each part doesn't work and how do they want to resolve that and make the text punchier, cooler, bigger Warhammer. This is not a great Warhammer book. This is a poorly executed Warhammer book with a great pitch that I was excited to read. I'm excited to pull the cool details out of, but I am utterly bewildered at its inconsistency of its writing.
Yeah, I think for me, the big anecdote I could give for anyone that's listening to this, whether in the future or now or whatever, and it's like, man, they really fucking hated this book. No, I didn't. And the easiest way I can express it is that this book made me feel very passionate and made me feel like, oh, I fucking love that. Oh, I fucking love that. I want it to be the best it can be versus like, this is, I feel bad always hitting on it as my example, but the Nagash trilogy was a series of books that made me genuinely angry. Like reading it had me like getting honest to God upset the entire time I was reading, because I was like, this fucking sucks. Like everything in this is making me really upset. I don't like the way that I don't like all the changes. I don't like the ramifications this is implying. When I think about that, when someone's trying to learn about like Nagash or Nehekara, this is how Games Workshop nowadays, this would be the easiest piece of material for them to get their hands on and to read. That disgusts me because these books are that bad. And I hated those books. Honest to God. I don't hate this book. I would recommend anyone that wants to learn more about Cathay or any of that stuff to read this book.
It's great.
I would say, now, there's a couple of caveats I would suggest. There are some issues that I think should be solved. I hope that they continue to improve on the books as the things get better. But I genuinely liked it. It's just kind of like, you know, it's like whenever someone does a job for you And like exactly like Andy described, like it's like commissioning someone to do something for you, and the first thing they come back with, you're like, oh, I really like the direction you're going with in this. This isn't it. I would like to recommend a lot of changes, but I really like the direction we're moving in. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and the most depressing thing from my side is that very possibly this is like draft number 7. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know what this has gone through. But I can happily say that if this had been sent to me, right, in its current state, I could have gone through it in a single evening and fixed it. That's how long it would take, because most of the ideas are there. All it needs is a tweak, a certain amount of vagueness added, a punch up, a more evocative description. Now, if I was doing it in a single evening, it would involve me rewriting it, which is not the way we'd want to do it. We'd want the writer to do it. So equally, I could have gone through an editing pass and said, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, and this is why. Now, I would say bad because you're going to make the poor old writer depressed. But I would say these things need changed and explain why. And none of them would have been particularly difficult to do. Any writer worth their salt, which this writer clearly is worth their salt, assuming that there's only one, there might be multiples, who can be sure. They can clearly do it. It's not so hard. But yeah, we didn't get that.
All right, I'm gonna grab out some comments and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Have you guys talked about the 2 unrecognized Terracotta Sentinels Lorebeards? So no, and I'll explain why. But for anyone that's wondering what he's talking about, if you look on the Elemental Winds page, there are these 4 Terracotta Sentinels in each corner. And those who are fans of Total War will recognize that this fellow here is a playable character in Total War Warhammer. He's a legendary hero. And the implication is that there are 4 of them, and each of them fulfills like a different role. But we're not going to talk about that in this stream because it's not relevant to this book, really, because they don't talk about them. Like, we have their pictures, but they don't talk about them at all. They don't mention them. So it's not something we did talk about them. If you go back and watch our Shadows of Change update stream, where we like covered all the characters and like the updates and stuff, and we talked about it there. It's cool and goofy because it's a giant fuck you Gundam, which is hilarious. Yeah, I don't have much to say on it because we don't know anything about them, really.
We got some pictures. They look cool. Let's see if they do anything with them.
Yeah, I hope we don't have to wait forever for their minis, because their minis look like they would be fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I'll say, Cathay minis,
great.
All of the old new old world minis, like, god damn, they're pretty.
Yep,
like
good models.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, love them. So I think we're sort of done.
Yeah, I think we are. We kind of knew this was going to be more of like a 1.5.
Yeah, we did.
We're actually relatively close to cut off.
We are. We will be back this Sunday for Lorebeards Fantasy, discussing what we were almost doing last Sunday, which will be our Ulrich. It's not your bad, these things happen. Our Ulrich. And our Ulrich, for those of you who don't know, is effectively the Pope of the cult of Ulrich in the old world. He is the top dog, and he is a character who is both very old in the lore and also very recent in terms of his recent incarnations. So it's going to be super fun for us to cover. If you haven't checked the stream that I did alone all by myself last Sunday, it was Sunday, wasn't it? Yes, last Sunday. I dive into a lot of the surrounding lore about it, but I also discussed quite a lot about how the writing of that character came into place. And I think a lot of you might quite enjoy the processes that went into creating some of it. So it might be a stream that if you haven't watched, you should go take a look at. I'm going to be changing the picture and all the rest of it a bit later, because it's not the stream that it's currently purported to be over on YouTube. But go check that one out because it's super fun. And next Sunday, we'll be doing that one properly.
Yeah, and also he has one of his miniature had such a crazy beard. It's like the most crazy giant Gandalf beard ever, and it's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah, totally. It's a lovely miniature. There's only one thing that upsets me, just as a small aside, because we might not cover this on the Sunday about the. I think I actually might have said this last Sunday, but regardless, I'm going to say it again because it still bugs me. In fact, I did say it last Sunday, and that's Ulricans. Ulricans don't cut their hair. It's a core component of who they are. They grow it wild. Their beards go long. Our Ulrich, the miniature we got, is exactly that. Yet, for some ungodly reason, in the Middenheim book, they decided that one of them was bald because he shaved his head.
Oh, no. Doesn't that mean Toddy should have, like, way crazier stuff going on? He's just got his little mustache.
He's not an Ulrican.
Okay.
He's as in he's not in the cult of Ulrich. He represents the city of Ulrich, and he should probably have a full beard if you were running by the full Ulrican thing. And he did in the past. He's had different versions of him.
I remember I think his fat version in in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition has a full beard.
Oh God. Damn that picture.
Good old fat Boris.
Yeah, strangely enough, I did not use that picture for the image of Boris that I did for the Lawhammer version. The image of Boris we have is sort of seen in side profile, and he's got a good beard.
Yeah. But anywho, so lots coming up in the very near future. So we'll be back on Sunday for our Ulrich. Next Tuesday, we will figure that out, but expect something fun. And
we've had a bribe for our next Age of Sigmar video, okay, which you might not have spotted, Ryan. Okay, the next Age of Sigmar bribe was they would really like us to cover all the different types of dwarfs inside Age of Sigmar.
I think the answer would be 0, other than Gotrek, unless we're
you know what I mean. Of course, it's not Dwarden, dude.
Amateur hour.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. The Dwarden. Next, you're going to ask me to say like Ogor or Auric or something.
In any event,
so that'll be coming soonish.
Yeah, we have to.
Not sure it's our next one. We need to sit down and have a good chat first.
Yeah, because we've got like 3 or 4 other bribe streams we have to deal with.
Yes, we do.
So we might have to put out like a stop bribing us for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Don't stop bribing us. Bribe us, God damn it.
That's true. Just fuck our schedule. Who cares? Just fuck our schedule. All right. Anyway, so we will see y'all on Sunday. But Lawhammer Friday.
Oh, Lawhammer is on Friday, and holy shit, it's about to go places. I'm just going to say one thing. I don't care if it's a spoiler. Greater Demon of Tzeentch next episode.
Ooh. Yeah,
that's it.
I'm finally getting caught up. I'm finally having time to watch again.
Fuck. It's going places, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay. Living legend. I wouldn't be surprised if Lorebeards fans are furries without suspiciously. If you are, we love you regardless, especially your Thank you.
Nothing wrong with a furry.
We don't judge. We don't judge. But exciting stuff. So we will have like a fairly planned schedule pretty soon. The only thing that might interrupt it is when the Tiger Warriors get released. Obviously, when that happens, that'll be kind of a big deal. Oh
hell yeah!
So we'll cover that when that happens. But other than that, we'll be getting a lot of cut up stuff in. Another trimmed Lorebeards win. Our editor is working on an episode as we speak.
He is. Yeah, we need a hell of a lot more of you watching that, by the way. So go watch our trimmed Lorebeards.
Yeah, he actually sent a very funny anecdote about the current one he's editing, where Andy's face is like taking up the entire frame on one of the pictures, and he's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Anyway,
I mean, the obvious thing: frame it forever.
Yeah. Right. So, thank you all for being here. We love you all very much. Let me double check one last little thing before I ship y'all off. Aha, yes, Vera is streaming. So I will send y'all off to go say hi to her, because
perfecto.
I can remember to do that super easily, and I finally finagled everything so I could do it super easily, which is the important part. So please say hi.
While he's doing that, if you haven't watched already the Dragon Ogre's trimmed episode, do so. If you wish to have it running on 7 separate windows, repeating over and over again, we won't complain.
Yeah, and please post it in other communities. there's a chance that it's going to be showing up on some channels to be watched by some other streamers and such, which is going to be pretty exciting. But that's something that I'm still finagling. But in any event, hope you all have a lovely day. Please take care.
Let's go. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.